to you a little bit late with some technical difficulties, but we're good now. We're here. We're ready to go, and we're ready to go for a long time. It looks like we didn't miss anything because Kings of Leon were getting everything started. But now we've got, looks like the draft is actually starting. So we're coming to you right on time. I'm Cody Schoeler here with Ryan Root. We got this new thing called NFL Dash. And what better way than to kick off our first week than by, covering the draft. It's one of my favorite days when it comes to the NFL. So I'm excited. Ryan, how are you feeling?
I'm feeling good now because I'm finally connected,
Mm-hmm.
but sorry about the technical difficulties there on my part, but finally excited that we get to see such a loaded draft. I mean, this first round I think is going to be really entertaining. I mean, we kind of know what's going to happen in the first couple of picks here, but still we're going to see probably some controversial trades, some probably controversial picks. Hopefully it's going to be an exciting one.
Yeah, the intrigue won't start for a while, so it's all right that it took us a little bit. But what are you most looking for? I mean, we've got 32 picks, not 32 teams picking, but 32 teams in the league. Maybe somebody who's not in will trade up. So just tell me what you're looking for. And if when I'm looking off to the side up here, I'm looking at my TV with the draft on it. So I'm not ignoring anybody.
I would join you there, but unfortunately my internet situation won't allow me. But I'm watching it right here on my phone, so I can kind of keep up with you a little bit. But team I'm most excited to look for, honestly, Jacksonville
Mm-hmm.
and the Jets, where I really want to see how they're going to exercise these two first rounders that they both have. Do the Jets take Zach Wilson at 2 and go running back with their mid 20th pick? Do they go defense? Do they go offensive line? Same thing with Jacksonville. Do they try to repair that defense and try to get another Saxonville going,
Mm-hmm.
or do they get another weapon for Trevor Lawrence to work with? I kind of just teased the first 2 picks there, but I feel like everybody kind of knows that by this point. But honestly, I'm more intrigued to see what they're going to do with those mid-round picks.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I mean, we say it's all but certain. I mean, I think Trevor Lawrence is like minus 50,000 draft odds, meaning you bet 50,000, you win $100. So everybody thinks it's set in stone. Zach Wilson is still a pretty heavy favorite, but not entirely. But they still haven't been, the picks haven't been, sent in yet. So something crazy could happen. Probably won't, but in all likelihood, the draft does start at number 3. And I'm looking forward to it because it's the first pick that we're not sure about. But I mean, obviously the biggest story is going to be the quarterbacks. There's 5 of them that will all but certainly go in the first round, possibly in the top 10, most likely in the first half. But, I want to see where they end up. If somebody makes a big trade early on, it's going to be for one of those guys, probably the second, the final 3 of Trey Lance, Mac Jones, and Justin Fields. So that's really the big uncertainty. Do the Patriots make a trade? Does Washington, does Chicago? There's teams that need a quarterback that aren't in position to take one, and there's some teams in position to take one that might not necessarily need one. So I mean, quarterbacks every year are a big storyline. No different this year. So that's one of the biggest thing I'm looking for. But then there's a lot of depth in this draft. I mean, we've talked about it on our first episode of this show. But I mean, wide receiver and offensive line are really deep, so we could see runs on those guys. At
cornerback
the
as
end.
well.
Cornerback's really nice, and so Jacksonville is officially on the clock, so the clock is ticking. 10.
Will we get a record time selection
No,
here? Will they take 10 seconds here, or are they going to take?
It'll be 10 minutes because these ESPN guys are going to want to talk about Trevor Lawrence for as much as they can.
Just a little bit more,
but,
while he's still a non-NFL quarterback.
But I mean, Jacksonville, they're starting it off. They weren't very good last year. Obviously, why they have this pick. But the teams at the end of the draft, they're good now, and so I'm really excited to see what teams like the Bills and the Chiefs and the Packers. There's a lot of stuff going on with the Packers today. Maybe something happens.
Don't forget about the Bucks. Don't forget about the Bucks.
I was purposely forgetting about the Bucks. I don't want to talk about the Bucks.
I guess they don't really need that pick, but I'm excited for that Bucks pick because I think honestly, I mean, they can go any real direction they want. Well, yeah. They don't really have any holes in that roster. I would like to throw out a bold prediction. They might take a quarterback with this pick. I think a potential. I call me crazy all you want, but I think we could possibly get a Kyle Trask pick, even though he's nowhere close to a first round selection.
Mhm.
You know, him being a Florida Gator, they're about 2 hours away from Tampa. I feel like it would be an insane storyline to have him be the successor of Tom Brady when he's done over there in Tampa Bay. But I'd love to see them to try to have a wild pick, maybe a Lamar Jackson-esque kind of pick. Although, the difference in talent's not really there with Trask and Lamar Jackson at the time, but they could go any sort of direction they want. And the Chiefs just gave their first rounder to the Ravens. So the Ravens got two first round picks. They could shore up that D line. They could shore up that defense a little bit more, maybe get Lamar Jackson, a wide receiver. Those teams as well are going to have some very interesting selections.
Yeah. And the thing about the Bucs, I mean, they're returning all 22 starters. So when you say they don't really have a hole, they literally do not have a hole on that roster. So honestly, I don't care what they do, to be honest.
Yeah.
But I mean, another thing, you've talked about Kyle Trask. There's also Kellen Mond and Davis Mills, who's from Stanford. Nobody really knows exactly who the sixth quarterback is. Obviously, one of them will have to be. But, we could see somebody trade up and do that. When Lamar Jackson got selected at 32, the Ravens traded up. The Vikings traded up for Teddy Bridgewater in that year. So somebody could trade back into the first round. Maybe it's a team that passed on a quarterback at the top in the top 10, or maybe it's, Chicago, like I mentioned, that's just trying to get back up.
If Chicago pulls another quarterback situation, I think that's going to be the storyline of the draft. If they jump up to maybe 4 or 7, 8, whatever it may be, because they got the 17th pick, 16th
20th,
pick, something like that.
20th.
Or they got 20.
Yeah,
that's right. They made the playoffs. So I'm not used to the Chicago Bears being in the playoff picture. Sorry about that. But, if they trade up to the top 10 and get a quarterback, depending on what the Niners do, are they going to be the ones suffering with Mac Jones, or are they going to trade up and get Micah Parsons or something out of left field? I mean, if the Bears trade up and make some ludicrous pick, that'd be insane. But I feel like we're just seconds away. I mean, I'd like to think minutes away.
We're 6 minutes and 30 seconds away. They're going to milk this for all it's worth. This is the second time I've seen this long. Trevor Lawrence
I can't get enough of watching Trevor Lawrence highlights. I mean, why not?
Yeah.
Kid's born to win.
Yeah. So we're talking about maybe some people trading up and doing some of these things, but I'm wondering, every year it seems like there's somebody who kind of slides, who people think are going to be taken much earlier, that kind of they start trickling down the board, and then the big thing is who's finally going to take this guy. A lot of times it's been a quarterback. I don't really expect that this year. I don't think that's necessarily going to be the case. But who do you think that player is, that from that top kind of tier group, top 15 guys that might start sliding down the boards?
This may shock some people, but I think Patrick Surtain might slide, a handful of picks, maybe not 10 picks or so, but he's kind of projected in that, 10, 12 area, either going to the Cowboys or Philly or whatnot. But I feel like J.C. Horn has jumped a lot of people's boards. I feel like, Greg Newsome, I believe he's the one with kind of the back issues, if I remember that.
That's Caleb Farley.
Caleb Farley, sorry
Farley's
about that.
got some back issues, but he's a talented guy.
Right, and Greg Newsome is another corner that's, kind of going up everybody's boards. And like we were saying, it's a deep draft for multiple positions. I could even see Devante Smith going down people's boards. I mean, he's a Heisman winner and all, but people might look at his size and think otherwise. He's a great route runner for sure, and he's got record-breaking numbers over at Alabama. But I mean, Alabama's just loaded all the time. I mean, how much can he really trust him or Jaylen Waddle? I mean, who's going to go first? I'm not really sure, but I can see either of those two, sliding down.
Yeah, for me, when I'm looking at that top group, and it's a guy that I like a lot, that I think is incredibly talented, but for me, it'd probably be Micah Parsons, for a few reasons. One of which being that off-ball linebacker just isn't valued very heavily in the NFL these days. I mean, we'll see the occasional guy get drafted early, but overall, the off-ball linebacker position isn't as valuable as some other ones. And then he's also got some character concerns. I'm not sure exactly. I mean, nobody's really sure exactly what's happened with all that stuff, but there's been some questions raised lately about some off-the-field stuff that I could see impacting his draft stock. So maybe there's a team that doesn't really need a linebacker, but they're looking at kind of scares them off. So that's the guy that I think we might see a mini fall. But I really like him, so I take him high. Who's your later kind of round, not late round, but later in the first round guy that you think can make a jump?
That I think could make a jump. I do like Tevin Jenkins a lot. I feel like he's kind of an underappreciated offensive tackle out of Oklahoma State. He's kind of a mean tackle for a league that's just getting better at that edge rusher position. I mean, Myles Garrett's tearing up the league. He's still got a fear. I mean, he's mainly in the interior with Aaron Donald, but you got to fear for some of the pass rushers in this league. And I feel like Tevin Jenkins. I was about to call him Tevin Coleman. That's the running back. Sorry. Tevin Jenkins, I feel like could jump up some people's boards. He's kind of going around in the high 20s, low 30s, maybe even the second round. But I wouldn't be surprised if he gets picked with the low 20, maybe even high teens pick.
Yeah. I mean, so Christian Barmore is a guy I like a lot. I'm not sure exactly.
You do like him a lot.
I do like him.
You brought him up in the previous show, yeah.
But I'm not sure exactly where. I've got him pretty high. I've seen a lot of people having him go early. Then I've also seen some mock drafts, specifically today, that's got him going 32. So I'm not sure, but I really like him. I think the dude can wreck the game from the interior. But I've talked about him a lot, so I'll go with another guy. And okay, there's two more. There's two guys I want to talk about. One is an edge rusher, Azeez Ojulari. He's from Georgia. This edge rusher class is really weak. Kwity Paye is kind of the number one guy that he's a little underwhelming, but Azeez Ojulari I really like. He played at Georgia, so he played SEC, 9.5 sacks, over 12 tackles for loss. Oh, the pick is in. The Jaguars pick is in, but that doesn't mean they're making it right now. So I promise you when that comes in, we'll break the news. That won't be that shocking. But Azeez Ojulari, I think, could be a really good edge rusher. I think he's the second best guy in the class for a class that's kind of weak. And then another guy I really like is Elijah Moore, the wide receiver from Ole Miss. There's easily a big three at wide receiver with Jamar Chase, Devante Smith, and Jaylen Waddle. The order's not for sure, but those guys. But I really like Elijah Moore as that fourth guy. The dude has great hands. He's a target machine. And so I think, those three wide receivers could go really early. And if a team wants a wide receiver, he could be the next on their board. So, I like him. I like Azeez Ojulari. I think those two could, but I could be totally wrong. Like, these are guys that, I could see them falling a lot too. But they're two guys personally that I like.
In terms of, kind of those mid-late first round people that I like, there's so much to choose from, obviously. Like I said, with this first round is just going to be a blast to watch. I feel like Terrace Marshall Jr. could make a good impact for a team. With those late round picks, chances are you're going to have a good quarterback thrown to you, whether it be Aaron Rodgers or who knows if we're going to have Aaron Rodgers and the Packers after today's news. But if the Bills decide to get another receiver, not very likely. But Ravens are in the hunt for a receiver. They would love to give Lamar Jackson another weapon there. But I can see a lot of things going down in the mid to late rounds. But,
well, it looks like
I think he might be ahead of me on the stream.
Probably. I've got cable going on here, but it looks Roger Goodell's at the podium. He's announcing the pick.
You're going to be my Roger Goodell right now.
Oh, guess who it is? Surprise, surprise.
Let me guess. It rhymes with Trevor Torrance.
Yep. Trevor Lawrence. He's the first pick, to nobody's surprise. Capping off an incredible career at Clemson, becoming the first overall pick in the draft, going to Jacksonville. He's supplanting our guy, Gardner Minshew. So all hopes of hitting the guy in Jacksonville, that's done. I think he'll land on his feet somewhere. But what's your take on this? What's your grade on this? I know it's been set in stone for months, but now that it's finally happened, it's official. What's your take on Trevor Lawrence to the Jaguars?
Gee, if I really had to be picky on this, no pun intended, of course. If I really had to be picky towards this, I guess I'd give it an A plus, somewhere around that range.
Yeah.
I mean, you can't miss with having a guy that just flat out won throughout his college career. I mean, what national title in his freshman year? He was a great successor to Deshaun Watson there in Clemson, and you can't deny a guy who's the highest rated quarterback since Andrew Luck. I mean, that being said, Andrew Luck certainly, went off with a bang his rookie year, and I can expect, Jacksonville to be a playoff team in 5 years. Within 5 years, maybe. Depending on how things go. I think there's going to be instant success right out the gate. Not necessarily, but they still got a lot. They still got a lot to figure out on that receiver end and the entire defense for that matter. So it's going to be a little bit of a process, but he's going to give them a.
Yeah, I was about to jump on you because I thought you were going to say you could expect them to be a playoff team right now, and I was about to say, whoa, slow down there. But I mean, to rebuild a franchise, to win a Super Bowl at the end, that's the goal. You need a quarterback, you need a franchise quarterback, you need an elite quarterback, and that's exactly what Trevor Lawrence is. There's really not a lot of questions around him. I mean, obviously anybody has a chance to be a bust, but I think Trevor Lawrence has very, very low bust potential. I think he'll be really solid. And in terms of what I'm expecting out of him, on the field, because at the end of the day, this is a 21-year-old going to the worst team in the league. So, I don't expect him to light the league on fire, stat wise. I mean, don't draft him in your fantasy league, thinking that he's going to be the next, Lamar Jackson or Patrick Mahomes and break out and win MVP. But, I think probably something a little bit worse than what Justin Herbert did last year, just because I think Justin Herbert was in a better position with some of the weapons he had around him. But what Baker Mayfield did his rookie year after coming in, I think that's definitely possible. The Browns were really bad when he got there. So, Trevor Lawrence should be really solid from day one. He doesn't have the greatest weapons, but he's got DJ Chark. He's got some decent guys. They have a pick later in the draft that maybe they grab a receiver for him. But, I think people might freak out when he's not doing what he did at Clemson, which is barely ever losing. He's going to lose a lot for probably the first time in his life. So he better get used to that, but not for too long, because Jacksonville is on the right track to turning this franchise around for sure.
I mean, what was it with Joe Burrow, his first game? He marched all the way up the fields, and the Cincinnati kicker missed a chip shot of a field goal. That's kind of your welcome to the NFL kind of moment, especially for Joe Burrow coming off of one of the greatest, kind of college senior seasons you could have. Get ready for quite a bit of those, Trevor, not going to lie. I would honestly, I mean, we got Zach Wilson on the screen here. I'd honestly put a little, I would kind of take the bet that Zach Wilson might have a few more wins over Trevor Lawrence. I don't think that's, too crazy of a take. Jets have a new head coach as well with Robert Saleh, great defensive coach, and they got some extra pieces to help out at the Jets place. And they have also a later round pick. They could go different kind of routes with it. Get that running back, maybe get a Najee Harris to help out Zach Wilson. That'd be a really fun kind of pick for them. Great pick, who knows? But Jets have holes everywhere as well. So I think Zach Wilson might have the potential to surprise some people, maybe get a few more wins than Trevor. Yeah,
I mean, hey, we don't know for sure that it's Zach Wilson. We've got now it's back to the pick is in. So that
pick is in?
Doesn't mean they're going to be saying it right now, but the pick's been in for months. Spoiler alert. But most likely, yes, it will be Zach Wilson. What was that?
I was just going to say you can feel free to cut me off when you say the pick's in, because I'm still, I think, about like 45 seconds to a minute off from you here. But I'm still enjoying some highlights.
I will play by play Roger Goodell walking up to the podium And in my head, I will be imagining the boos that are raining down upon him in what is one of the best traditions in sports. Is just Roger Goodell getting booed. You got to love that. But yeah, I mean, Zach Wilson, what were you going to say?
I was gonna say, do they even do that in the NBA with Adam Silver? Do they boo him when he goes up to the podium?
Not
I'd
as
like to
much as
think
they
they
boo.
don't.
Not as much as they boo Roger Goodell. That's for
Yeah.
true. Roger Goodell, he gets it hard, and it's. But Zach Wilson, I do agree with the fact that the Jets. I mean, it's hard for me to know what the Jets are going to be because on one hand they're the Jets, and nothing about them gives me any confidence for the ability to develop anybody. But I mean, they've got a good kind of front office. They've got Joe Douglas, who's a good GM. They're bringing in Robert Saleh, who is, I mean, I don't know what he's going to be, but he's going to be better than Adam Gase, that's for sure. We've got Roger Goodell walking up to the podium now, but he's taking his time, basking in the glory. So I mean, the Jets team they're on the right track. I mean, we didn't mention the Jaguars head coach. They've got Urban Meyer, but these are two teams with new head coaches, also getting new quarterbacks. So we're gonna see what they're doing. Roger Goodell's at the podium. He's talking to the microphone.
This is exciting. Let's see.
Oh, I know. And it is Zach Wilson. They have a Jets fan in a blazer with the word Jets all over it, screaming at the top of his lungs. But yeah, Zach Wilson, the first player in attendance to get drafted. He's going to go up there and hug Roger Goodell. Those are back. But yeah, I mean, now it's official. Zach Wilson to the Jets. I mean, we were just talking about it, but what do you think about that?
It's just going to bring some life back into the franchise. I mean, Jets fans have been miserable for decades. I mean, when's the last great Jets quarterback other than Joe Namath?
Mark Sanchez.
I guess he could throw in Mark Sanchez there. I feel like he had a decent supporting cast there, but he did go to back-to-back AFC championships. You're right about that. But no, it's a great pick for him. Obviously, I mean, a new head coach who is obviously a great hire for the Jets. I think they got one of the best candidates out there, and it's going to be a work in progress, just like with Trevor going to Jacksonville. But he's going to bring some life back into this franchise. He's going to bring some flair. I think that's going to be something that is really going to entertain a ton of people. I mean, we saw his pro day; those throws he can make are really a ton of fun.
Yeah, I like the guy. I think he's special. I think he's got the
really excited to be there. That's awesome.
But yeah, so I mean, we've talked about him. We can move on to now. Finally, what I think is, I mean, the draft's finally
possibly the most controversial pick.
Probably, it definitely could be. We won't know for a while, but everybody's going to have their opinions, including us, when this pick comes in. But I mean, what do you think 49ers are going to do? What would you do? Let's see. I mean, we've got about under 6 minutes before it actually happens. But if you're John Lynch, who are you selecting?
If you trade up to the top 3 and not take Trey Lance or I would like to get 2 people for 1 pick. But nice. If you do not take Trey Lance or Justin Fields at this 3rd spot, I'm not sure how you could really defend that. I mean, John Lynch seems to like Trey Lance. The team seems to like Trey Lance. Kyle Shanahan seems to be the only guy that's on this Mac Jones train, and there's not many people that are really backing him up on it. When you're in a division with Russell Wilson, now Matt Stafford, and Kyler Murray, and you bring in Mac Jones, who is easily the least athletic out of the top 5 quarterbacks in this draft. Sure, he had a great passing season with Alabama. I mean, you just kind of heard it there. I said with Alabama, where you have a Heisman winner, wide receiver, and another top 10 pick potentially in Jaylen Waddle. If you do not take Trey Lance or Justin Fields with this pick, it's a huge head scratcher.
Yeah, see, I don't know if it's just me personally being I like to go against what people are thinking, but ever since people have started to hate on Mac Jones, so I don't know if I've just been going against them or if I really believe this, but I'm kind of starting to dig Mac Jones. I mean, yes, he played at Alabama and he played good, but I mean, Joe
It
Burrow.
was just 1 year as well. It was
Yeah,
just one season.
but Joe Burrow played on one of the most loaded offenses of all time, a team that had the most draft picks of all time, and he only had one insane year. I mean, Mac Jones, he came in for Tua the year before when he got injured. He actually finished that season out and played pretty well. And you know, there's been a handful of those receivers have said that they prefer Mac Jones. So I don't think that he's as bad as people think. Obviously, people are in love with what Justin Fields did at Ohio State, but that doesn't necessarily transfer every time. But and Trey Lance, I mean, just the circumstances of everything, we didn't get to see him play last year. But I like Mac Jones. I think Kyle Shanahan is a guy who knows quarterbacks. I think there's no doubt about that. And first off, if I'm making the pick, I'm getting him whoever he wants because he's the guy. If he gets his guy and he messes up, then that's on him. But if you don't give him his guy, then you're creating some tension. But Mac Jones, I mean, I think he's safe, which isn't necessarily the best thing. But for the Niners, that I think could contend this year with a good quarterback, I think it's the right move. He could easily come in and at his war, he could be a Kirk Cousins type his whole career, which a lot of people would, gag at the mention of Kirk Cousins' name. But Kirk Cousins is a really solid quarterback. And if you could guarantee that you're getting at least Kirk Cousins, I think a lot of teams would do that. So I like the idea of Mac Jones because I think he's a guy who could come in right away and operate that offense, pretty well. Trey Lance, we don't know how much time he's going to need to get ready. I mean, he's 20 years old, I believe. He's really young. And he might not be ready this year, but I think Mac Jones is a guy who could come in and play this year. He might not play great, but with the weapons around him, I think he could do pretty good.
And they're fair points that you're making in terms of some guy who can come in and you're guaranteed to have that, above average quarterback. Trey Lance and Justin Fields. I mean, there's one thing that's going to happen with these 5 quarterbacks. I mean, just chances are here, unless I could be proven wrong, but chances are at least one of these guys, if not 2, they're going to be a bust to some degree.
2.
And, Trevor Lawrence obviously has like the least chance. You can kind of debate who has the second least, third, whatever it may be. Yeah. Trey Lance and Justin Fields, I see dancing around that 3 through 5 spot. And Mac Jones has more experience than Trey Lance, has played, some big SEC teams. Mm-hmm. Trey Lance just has the 1 year. And Trey Lance is a project. And considering that he'd be going behind, considering he'd be behind Jimmy G, who knows how much longer Jimmy Garoppolo is going to be in San Fran?
Probably not much longer would be my guess.
Probably not much longer. But if you get one of those project pieces like Trey Lance or maybe Justin Fields, that could be something to kind of train one of those 2 with and kind of go this next year. Because, I mean, say what you want about Jimmy Garoppolo. Not a huge fan of the guy, but they made it to the Super Bowl with him under center.
And I mean, the thing about that is that was his one healthy year. I mean, he and the pick is in, by the way. Roger Goodell's not announcing it yet, so we're just going to keep on going. But the 1 year he was healthy is when they made it to the Super Bowl, and even then he wasn't doing anything crazy. He was playing well, but I mean, this is a team that was. I mean, Raheem Mostert had 200 yards or something in a playoff game. I mean, this is a team that's set up to win with a decent quarterback. They don't need Patrick Mahomes, which is, I don't think Trey Lance will be Patrick Mahomes, but Trey Lance does have the higher floor. They don't necessarily, the higher ceiling, but they don't necessarily need that. I mean, they wouldn't be opposed to it if that is their selection. But, I have actually got Roger Goodell's coming to the podium, and it looks like there's some insiders that are tweeting out the picks a little bit early, but I won't spoil it for you. I'll let you react. Where's Roger on your screen?
I'm still looking at some San Fran fans cheering here.
Okay,
Mel Kiper's talking.
Okay, then you're behind. So I'll let you know that they just selected Trey Lance. They went with your guy.
They went with Trey Lance.
Trey Lance. So
Let's go.
The first shock of the draft. I mean, we were guaranteed to be
it's the
surprised
first
either way.
steal of the draft, if you ask me.
But I am surprised. You know,
I am too.
So I'll let you take it since this was your guy. But
this is possibly the biggest roll of the dice among all 5 quarterbacks.
I think
I'll be the first to
absolutely.
I'll be the first to admit that. But there's some things you got to take away from Trey Lance. I mean, we had a quarterback come from North Dakota State not too long ago and be, almost an MVP if it wasn't for an ACL injury.
You mean the one that just got traded?
He did just get traded, yes, but ever since before that injury, Carson Wentz was playing like the man.
Yeah, I like Carson Wentz.
And Trey Lance has that dual threat capability that honestly should set off fireworks for San Francisco in terms of, like I said, you're competing alongside with Russell Wilson in Seattle, Kyler Murray in Arizona, and now Matt Stafford in Detroit. All those guys, top LA. 10 quarterbacks in this league right now. And Trey Lance may be a project, but we saw a little bit of what he could do. He didn't lose a game. He didn't throw an interception. Something that Jimmy G can't really say. But
threw an interception this year, actually, in the one game. He did throw.
Was there a penalty attached to it?
No, I think the dude finally just nobody's perfect. But
was he just trying to give the defense a break real quick?
Probably. But no, I mean I definitely agree. And the thing that this pick raises a lot of questions about is now I think Jimmy G's time in San Francisco might be a little prolonged. I could see him playing the rest of this season, now that they've got Trey Lance, who, like I mentioned, is 20. He might not be ready this year. He could be, but I think this means that we'll probably see Jimmy G start week 1, would be my guess. But I mean, Trey Lance is obviously the future. He's obviously the answer. But I think
even Tua had to start behind Fitzpatrick. And
Justin Herbert started behind Tyrod Taylor.
Tyrod. Yep.
So Tyrod Taylor.
It's not the end of the world.
Yeah, no, for sure. But now this is another kind of interesting facet of the draft is that supposedly.
Please tell me there was a trade.
No. What I'm saying is supposedly a non-quarterback is finally going to come off the board. So we're going to take a look at the draft board now that we've got not a quarterback coming off. A lot of talent. We've only talked about quarterbacks this whole time, but now there's a lot of other guys to think about. So if we take a look at the big board, this is my big board. But I think we're both in agreement. I don't want to speak for you, but Kyle Pitts probably the pick here if Atlanta keeps it. I've got him.
Mac Jones above Justin Fields.
Yeah, I told you. I'm a Mac Jones guy. I had Trey Lance way down there. I told you I was a Mac Jones guy. But, Kyle Pitts, probably the pick here. I mean, the dude is insane. I have him as the second best player in the class. I think that he's a special talent. And, the first team to not draft a quarterback, probably going to go with him, should go with him because he's that good. But there are other options. Obviously, Jamar Chase, at receiver, Devante Smith, Jaylen Waddle, and then some defensive guys. I've got Micah Parsons up there, Patrick Surtain, and then we've got. I didn't even mention the linemen. Penny Sewell, Rashaan Slater. I mean, there's a lot of guys, but Kyle Pitts is probably here.
You might have to explain. I'm curious about that Najee Harris at 18.
I like Najee Harris.
That's interesting to me.
I
do too, but
insane.
I haven't seen many mocks that have him going in the teens though, so that's going to be. I mean, every team's got different needs and whatnot, but
this is not where I think he's going to go.
Right. It's just your best prospects.
Like Najee Harris.
Yeah, for sure. Trust me, if Kyle Pitts went to New York and not Zach Wilson, I think that's all Twitter would be swarmed with if that was the case.
Who would be throwing him the ball? But do you agree that Kyle Pitts is the pick here?
I will be honest. When I first saw mock drafts teasing Kyle Pitts here at 4 and not a lineman per se, or maybe any other, Atlanta's defense isn't stellar either. But at first, I wasn't really for the Kyle Pitts pick. But then I started seeing quarterback mocks where they could be going with either a Justin Fields or a Trey Lance or whatever it may be. I like the Kyle Pitts pick now, considering Matt Ryan is certainly not done. I don't think the former MVP, former first overall pick, former 28-3 choker, but they're going to get a weapon here in Kyle Pitts that's going to make this passing offense absolutely ridiculous. I mean, it was already tough to stop with Ridley and Julio.
Yeah.
But now you got someone who may be a top 3 tight end in this league within 3 years. I mean, he's going to be,
if not right away. I mean, the dude is special.
Absolutely. I mean, any team who takes this guy, it doesn't matter if you're Jacksonville, New York, San Fran. It doesn't matter if, well, it would matter if you're the Bucks. He'd go 16-0 or 17-0 now. But getting Kyle Pitts at any spot, any team, anybody could take advantage of this guy and absolutely abuse defenses with him. He could be 1,000-yard receiver right out the gate, and I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah, I mean, especially if this helps revitalize Matt Ryan. But to your point, I mean, if Kansas City somehow had this pick, I don't care if you have Travis Kelce, you take Kyle Pitts. He's that good. I mean, this is a generational tight end. And
Tyreek Hill, Travis Kelce, and Kyle Pitts.
Don't matter when you can't block anybody.
Yeah.
But, I mean, the thing is, tight end, it's an antiquated position, but if you use a guy right, he could be elite. Travis Kelce is one of the best pass catchers in the league because he doesn't just line up at tight end every time. Kyle Pitts is a guy you can put absolutely anywhere, on the field. And, I've heard some stuff where if his position said wide receiver instead of tight end, nobody would even be arguing, for him to not be selected here. Mm-hmm. So Roger Goodell's coming up to the podium. We'll see what he says. The Falcons could go with a huge shock.
This starts the dominoes of the rest of the draft.
It does, because, the next 2 teams, Cincinnati and Miami, they're probably taking whoever. And they did go Kyle Pitts. They did the smart move. He's got the silky smooth, dark green suit, looking nice. But I mean,
I'm excited to see that.
I mean, this is the guy that I want to draft him in my fantasy leagues right now because he could be special, especially.
This is a first or second rounder in your fantasy leagues, folks.
No, don't listen to that. I mean, they just showed his
this is a 7th rounder. They
just showed his NFL comparisons that are Darren Waller and Travis Kelce, 2 of the top 3 tight ends, in the league. That's like saying somebody's, running back or quarterback comparisons is like Patrick Mahomes and, Russell Wilson.
Aaron Rodgers
this dude is that good. And so I'm excited to see what he can do because he's going to a good team. I know the Falcons are picking 4th and their record was bad, but they're a lot better than, the Bengals or the, the Jets or whatever. They could be pretty good. I'm excited for his potential.
I'll tell you what, Tampa Bay, New Orleans, and Carolina, they hate this pick right now because twice a year these teams are going to have to match up against this guy, and they're going to have a tough time doing it. And then they're going to look to their left and they're going to see Julio. They're going to look to their right. They're going to see Calvin Ridley. I mean, they're going to look in the backfield. I know a lot of people aren't real big fans of Todd Gurley, but that's something to take advantage of or to take, account for as well. And then Matt Ryan throwing that ball, former MVP. I mean, it's going to be a shootout with Atlanta.
Yeah, and if your defense can't stop anybody, which we saw their defense cannot stop anybody, the best thing to do is to just, outscore the other team. So I want to check in on your mock draft, Ryan. We can pop that up here and see how you're doing. I know.
I'm 4 for 4, baby.
You are. I would say, 2 impressive ones. I'm not going to count the first 2 as anything special.
I won't tell them what your 3rd pick was. Don't worry about it.
Oh, it was Mac Jones. Part of that might have been the Seahawk fan in me hoping for Mac Jones, but I'm looking at I looked at your 5th pick there. You've got Penei Sewell going to Cincinnati. So
this one's tough.
Yeah, this is hard.
This one's hard because it looked like it was going to be Penei Sewell for a while.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of recent reports now saying the Jamar Chase, sorry, Joe Burrow, forgot the guy's name for a second.
Well,
Jamar
you've got
Chase,
one guy's
Joe
name.
Burrow mixture is that could be that reunion could be the answer for Cincinnati going forward. I mean, you got to. I still like Penei Sewell at 5, considering.
Yeah.
Why do you want to put your quarterback, your future quarterback, in more distress after an ACL tear? Like, I would think you'd want to protect the guy more than anything. He still has valuable targets in terms of T. Higgins. He's still got Joe Mixon in the backfield at least. He's still got, John Ross is the speedster as well. He still has some weapons. I know one of the first videos I saw Joe Burrow when he was drafted by Cincinnati last year, they showed some clips of him in practice. He was running around in that backfield trying to get some sort of protection. And the Cincinnati pass rush was not fantastic either. So I would think you'd have to protect your guy here. It's tempting to get Jamar Chase. I know he's like an NFL-ready wide receiver. I get it, but I still like to take if I was Cincy, I would still take Penei Sewell here. It's tempting, but can't do it.
I agree. I think it's a want versus a need type thing. Like when I go to the grocery store, I want to get the cookies and the and the fruit snacks and all that nice stuff, but I have to get the carrots and the vegetables and the fruit and stuff.
Well, that's saying that Penei Sewell is boring. This guy's a great
offensive line is boring. I mean, you're talking to Joe Burrow. Of course, Joe Burrow wants to throw to Jamar Chase, who he threw 20 touchdowns to, 2 years ago, and he doesn't necessarily. I mean, hopefully he doesn't see the impact of Penei Sewell. Hopefully, he isn't noticing what his linemen are doing. So I think Joe Burrow wants Jamar Chase. That I'm sure that's who he's saying he wants. Maybe Zach Taylor, the coach, even wants Jamar Chase because he's drooling about all the plays he could run for him when you've got Jamar Chase, Tyler Boyd, T. Higgins. I mean, a really good offensive core. But I think you need Penei Sewell because, as we saw last year, you could have all the receivers in the world, but when you've got a torn ACL, Joe Burrow, you can't do anything. So I think they should go Penei Sewell. That's what I would do. I mean, he's really good, but the pick is in, so we'll get that in a second. But I'm a little worried, I guess, that it's going to be Jamar Chase because I think that's what Joe Burrow wants, and he is really good. He's worthy of being picked this high, but I think Penei Sewell, it should be the pick here.
If Penei Sewell gets picked here and Jamar Chase goes to Miami, if Tua ends up being the answer for Miami down the road, I mean, imagine a Cincinnati-Miami rivalry in years to come where Joe Burrow has to compete against Jamar Chase. Yeah. I mean, that'd be a ton of fun, and it's great to see teammates have a reunion down the line in their careers. Not saying they can't, but I mean, as far as the scouting goes for Jamar Chase, something tells me teams aren't going to want to get rid of him. But Odell got together with Jarvis Landry. Teammates can reunite, but Jamar Chase is tempting. You gotta protect the quarterback who's running around looking for some sort of protection in that backfield.
Yeah, I think this would be different if there wasn't good wide receivers already there. If the wide receiver,
that's true. Yeah, you could maybe take Terrace Marshall Jr. in the second round.
Yeah, exactly. And
that's an LSU guy right there for him. So
yeah, I mean, and people say, because I mean, you're looking at wide receiver and offensive line, which are two of the deepest positions. So I guess the thought here is if you go Jamar Chase here, then you're looking for a lineman later. If you go Penei Sewell here, you're probably looking for a receiver later.
Yeah.
But I think
can't necessarily lose.
Yeah, I think it would be different though if he didn't have Tyler Boyd and T. Higgins, two receivers that I think are pretty good. If he didn't really have the weapons, then I think Jamar Chase would be a smarter pick. But he's got the weapons. He's got pretty good guys to throw to. What he doesn't have is people blocking for him, as we saw last year. So I mean, we'll see. I assume we'll get the pick fairly soon, but this is another. I mean, we didn't talk about it earlier, but this is another pick that I was really interested in because this this could, I mean, really help out a franchise that needs a lot of help. I mean, they're just putting a graphic up there. He was sacked. Joe Burrow was sacked 32 times in 10 games. I mean, you know,
that's too much.
That's not good. And their line wasn't very good at run blocking either. Joe Mixon struggled. I know. I drafted him in fantasy. He wasn't that good.
I went against him in fantasy. I was pretty happy about it.
Yeah, but you know, so there's a lot of reasons they need Penei Sewell. But I mean, don't take it from me. I've already got one pick wrong. But Ryan is red hot. He's got Penei Sewell going.
See if I go 5 for 5 here.
That would be nice. Bengals fans dancing around.
Hopefully, I don't have any Cougar Dash karma come up and surprise me here.
You've been good on the quarterback so far, so that's something good. Goodell's walking to the podium. So what is your gut still telling you, Penei Sewell?
Penei Sewell, locking it in.
All right, that's some bold stuff right there. So we're gonna get that soon. I'm with you though. I think I think it's going to be Jamar Chase though. I want it to be Sewell, but I think it's going to be Jamar Chase. I will put that out there. So let's see, and it was Jamar Chase. It was Jamar Chase. So
that'll be fun though.
It'll
be a lot of fun.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I mean, he's wearing all white. He's got the sunglasses on. He looks like he's ready to go. You know, catch. I mean, the thing that we didn't even talk about. You know who was the wide receiver 2 during his year at LSU 2 years ago? Do you know who it was? Who was
Justin Jefferson?
Justin Jefferson, who just went for 1,400 yards and was insane. So this dude was better than Justin Jefferson. Yeah. I'm not saying he's going to go for all that this year, but I mean the dude's insanely talented. So I mean I'm happy for Joe Burrow if this is the guy he wanted, but I don't know if it's the guy he needed.
Yeah, can we get a live video feed of Joe Burrow like cheering in his living room or something? That'd be great. See if he's maybe we'll get a video on Twitter later of him FaceTime and Jamar or something like that. But yeah, I'm sure he's ecstatic regardless.
Sure Yeah, exactly. So this sets up something really interesting for Miami because you know when I know as you had in yours and you know when I've done some of my mock draft stuff, it's what I had is that I had Miami taking Jamar Chase because Penei Sewell was off the board. So you know now. It opens them up to where they set on receiver. Do they want to give Tua a great weapon, or do they want to secure the offensive line? And do they take Penei Sewell? What do you think?
I think they're going to stick receiver here. I think we're going Waddle. I mean, as much as Devante Smith tempts teams with a Heisman year, I think Waddle having that speedster to help out too. I mean. Tua's just got to have weapons to kind of prove himself. You know, he's got Devontae Parker there. He's got Mike Gesicki.
I believe they brought in Will Fuller.
And they brought in Will Fuller. If you get another receiver for the guy, he's already got decent enough protection. And what's the running back out of Washington back there?
Myles Gaskin.
Myles Gaskin. They got an up-and-coming offense, and their defense is honestly really entertaining to watch. So this next receiver could be the difference maker to maybe get a potential wild card spot in this AFC East. They're still competing with Buffalo there, and depending on how New England treats this, how they treat this draft, they could be right back up there with them. Yeah. I think getting Jaylen Waddle here just gives them more weapons to work with because although defense wins championships, Tua's just got to build some confidence in his sophomore year.
Yeah, I half agree with you because I do think they go wide receiver.
You think it's going to be Devontae?
I think it's going to be Devante Smith.
They're going to have the Devontae duo.
Yeah, I mean, I think that they kind of have that speedster locked down with Will Fuller. It's only a 1-year deal, but they kind of have that spot. And the thing, Devonte Smith, I mean, he had an absolutely incredible season last year. I mean, he had 117 catches, over 1,800 yards, 23 touchdowns, won the Heisman. And I know it's not all about stats, and people say what they want about his size or whatever, but I mean, the dude's a baller. He's proven it at every level. He proved people wrong, and I think he's the type of guy that could come in and immediately be the number one wide receiver. As good as Devontae Parker is and has been, there's been some questions about him, but I think Devante Smith could come in and immediately lead the team in catches, lead the team in yards, be that guy, and Tua, I mean, Tua's thrown to both of those guys. He threw to Waddle and Smith, so there's not really, an argument.
That's true. I
Yeah.
haven't even put that together yet.
Yeah,
They're both Alabama guys.
So there's not that factor to put it over the top like there was with Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase, but I think that Devante Smith just to me makes more sense because I think that he's more of a complete wide receiver. Not that Jaylen Waddle isn't, but this is a dude that is going to catch everything and he's going to just go out there and ball out. And he's got that chip on his shoulder that has already won him the Heisman.
Yeah, you got a fair point in terms of Devante Smith just being easily the best route runner in this draft and coming off a Heisman season, which he's the first receiver to have a Heisman trophy since who knows how long, the 80s, 70s, something like that.
It's like 30 years.
Yeah, so it's certainly tempting to get a guy like that. I'm not entirely, I'm not scared of his size at all in terms of, or worried, I should say.
Yeah.
These college guys are relatively small a good chunk of the time, especially these receivers. You're not going to get a guy like Kyle Pitts most of the time.
Mm-hmm.
You're not going to get a guy like Jamar Chase most of the time. They're probably going to have a couple of weeks to put on some weight in the weight room and kind of get up to speed. But I don't think size is really going to affect this guy anyways. He's going to be a great target no matter where he goes. And having that chemistry already with Tua, I think it's going to be beneficial for Miami. We'll see if it's beneficial for Tua because with this pick, it's really it's lighting the fire underneath Tua at that point.
The pick is in. They're not announcing it yet, but we'll get that. But I want to address something in the chat. We've got Jacob Minuti who is asking, can Fields fall to Denver? I believe he's a Broncos fan, so this is personal for him. I think he wants Fields to fall to Denver.
That's arguably my most anticipated pick.
Yeah,
arguably.
But I mean, I guess I have a question back. Are you not satisfied with Teddy Bridgewater? You just traded for Teddy Bridgewater. Absolutely, I think Fields can fall to Denver. It's just a matter of I think that 7 and that 8 pick are prime trade up, categories. So I think if somebody wants one of the guys, they might trade up. So Denver might have to be aggressive if they want a quarterback. But I think a guy can fall to them. And the pick was just announced, and you're hot again because it is Jaylen Waddle going to Miami.
Let's go.
I mean, speed is and Devante Smith are hugging it out. No hard feelings there. But I mean, speed is a big thing. I mean, speed can break the game, and Jaylen Waddle's got a ton of speed. I mean, now he's hugging it out with Devante Smith. But I mean, Henry Ruggs, we saw what happened with Henry Ruggs, where he got to run it at the combine with a 4.29, and he was a first receiver taken. And Jaylen Waddle, I mean, he has the same. He might even be faster. So I mean, I'm not surprised that Miami went with a guy like this that can just be an absolute weapon.
Yeah, you couldn't go wrong with this pick if they were going to go receiver. It was going to be one or the other. One receiver is still going to fit in well with this Miami system.
Yeah.
I mean, Brian Flores has proven himself to be a very solid coach for this organization, and Miami is just getting back up into relevance, and they're not missing with this pick by any means. I'm seeing now the comparison that Jaylen Waddle is Tyreek Hill. I mean, we'll see how that kind of pans out. I saw the comparison for Jamar Chase being A.J. Brown. I feel like there could have been a better comparison out there, but
A.J. Brown's good. But I mean, he definitely has the speed to be Tyreek Hill. That's for sure.
Yeah, it's and then what? Darren Waller. Darren Wallen. I always get it.
Darren Waller.
I'll have Waller. Yes, one's a singer. The other one, I don't know why that happens to me. It always happens to me. I live with a Raiders fan too. I don't even know why that happens to me. But Darren Waller and Travis Kelce, it being the comparison for Kyle Pitts, that ought to be the best comparison I've seen yet, right? Like,
Yeah, I mean that.
other than what Trevor Lawrence being,
Who knows?
what, an instant difference maker, right?
Yeah,
So
the second coming of Jesus.
and the Lions already got their pick set in place.
The picks in. I mean, they're putting the picks in early, but they are not announcing them early. But yeah, the Lions pick is in, so they already know who it is. We obviously don't know who it is, but who do you think it's going to be? There's some options.
It's either going to be, or actually, I don't know who this is going to be. This is going to be kind of the first pick that could go a multitude of directions.
Yeah, because
and I see it because they have holes everywhere.
Yeah,
He's going to be. This is going to be a really interesting pick for a multitude of reasons, but they could very well go with a safe pick here in Penei Sewell.
Mm-hmm.
It got revealed earlier this week that he grew up as a Detroit Lions fan. As much as I feel sorry for the guy,
that really sucks. I don't know if he needs
as much as I feel sorry for the guy
to inflict more pain.
He may have been shopping himself with that statement, but they could very well go Devante Smith here. That could kind of change up the dynamic a little bit in Detroit. However, I will say, do not be entirely surprised if they just jump the gun and take a quarterback. And it's scary, Lions fans. I know you just got Jared Goff, who's arguably a bridge quarterback or the next piece of the Detroit franchise, but quarterback could be right here. We could see the first defensive player taken off here. We could see a Micah Parsons. There's so many different directions this pick could go, and this is the first kind of Swiss Army knife pick that we got going on.
I agree that this is the pick where I think everything could get changed because I don't trust the Lions to make a good pick, if I'm being honest.
Yeah, them and the Eagles are my most anticipated picks in terms of making bad selections.
I mean, if I was in their shoes, I would go Penei Sewell. I think he's the best player still on the board. I mean, you can't go wrong. I don't know who he's going to be, protecting, which running back he's going to block for, and all these things. But I think that a guy that good on the line is always a solid pick. I don't think there's a lot of a bust potential there. I think he'll be at the very least a solid starter for years to come. But I mean, he should know better than anybody. If he was a Lions fan, he should be shutting his phone off. He should be hoping that his phone isn't ringing. If he was a Lions fan, he knows what has happened there. But I expect the draft to go off the rails right here. And I expect something to happen. I mean, Micah Parsons also is possible.
I was just going to say, this pick and the next pick have a considerably high chance of getting traded out somewhere.
Well, I believe I think this one. It says pick is in. I assume that means that the Lions are locked in.
I assume that means they made their selection. So
but
the next pick's going to be.
This definitely was one that could be traded. That seemingly doesn't need a quarterback. But I mean, maybe teams aren't as ready to trade up for Mac Jones or Justin Fields. Maybe they wanted to trade up for Trey Lance. We'll see. We've still got a lot of picks left that could be traded up for. But I mean, I had the Lions going with a receiver. I think I had. I mean, I've had Waddle and Smith. But I think I had Waddle putting Smith at. But for a while, I mean, when we did our mock draft on our show, I had the Lions picking Waddle. But Smith, I don't think would be a bad, pick here. Like I've kind of wrote and talk about, they lost Kenny Golladay and Marvin Jones last year. And do you know who they signed as replacements?
Oh, it's one of the guys from the Raiders.
Tyrell
Williams. Yeah.
Perryman. So I don't think those are.
So we got a bust and a very below average receiver, Tyrell Williams.
Goodell's announcing the pick right now, but I mean, receiver is definitely filling a huge hole.
This is another crucial pick. So this will be interesting.
They went with Penei Sewell. So
there we go.
I'm excited for that. I think they got the best player on the board. They didn't do
first Pac-12 guy. I'm happy.
Yeah. We've got our producer is a Lions fan. Let out through text, but a huge sigh of relief because they did not mess this up. I think they hit on this pick. I really like this pick.
So Carolina, are your phones ringing here? What's going on in that war room right now? Is New England calling them? I mean, we saw the Saints are trying to do something. I doubt they're trying to trade up to this spot at this point, but what's going on in the Carolina war room right now? Do they have a trade offer going? Are they declining everything? They just got Sam Darnold and traded away Teddy Bridgewater. It seems like they kind of got the replacement at quarterback. They have a solid roster overall. They got the best running back in the league in the backfield. They got two very, very good receivers in DJ Moore and Robbie Anderson. The defense could maybe use a little work, but we've seen on really a lot of people's mocks, defense isn't really going to play a factor until the teens. We're still in the single digits where offense is a big part here.
Yeah.
I would think it would be a possibility to trade back here, but I think we were expecting a lot of trades last year, and we only got one, right?
Yeah.
Something like that.
I mean, they happen later, but somebody's gonna want those quarterbacks at some point. Somebody's gonna trade up. Somebody from the defense has to go. I think this is a sleeper spot for one of the corners, whether it's Surtain or J.C. Horn, just because I've
seen Rashaan Slater in this spot as well.
Yeah, I think that's possible too. But I think I'm gonna go kind of off a little bit, out of the box here. I think Justin Fields is the pick here. It might not be Carolina making it, but I think it's possible that Carolina even could pick him because
that pick isn't in yet.
No,
is it in yet?
No, it's not in. It's not in yet.
So they're taking their time a little bit.
Yeah.
I think they're talking.
This is the furthest we've seen the clock tick down in a while. Yeah. So I think this could indicate a trade.
Man, Detroit is pumped up in that war room right now.
Yeah, I would be. Yeah, I mean, they got somebody who I believe is, I think he's one of the top 5 players in the draft. But the clock's still ticking down. They could be trying to work out a trade, but even so, Sam Darnold, he could be good. They could, get him. But if Carolina really likes Justin Fields, go ahead and take him, let them battle it out.
I just don't know why you trade for Sam Darnold. And then when I see people's mocks of Carolina picking a quarterback, not someone trading for the pick, Carolina picking a quarterback makes about the same amount of sense to me as San Fran wanting to draft Mac Jones, which I was right on that one. We'll see where Mac Jones heads up, but maybe New England doesn't trade up. Maybe they know people aren't sold on Mac Jones and they take him at 15.
They could hope somebody starts falling.
That's on my mock, by the way.
Yeah,
Mac Jones to the Patriots is on my mock at 15. I
had Justin Fields going there just because not predicting any trades, but yeah, let's pull up your mock here and see what you have, who you have Carolina taking. We're almost at 30 seconds, so they're either the pick is in. So it looks like Carolina will be making the pick. You've got them going Rashaan Slater. You've hit a bit of a cold patch. What are you, 4 for 7 now? Yeah.
I suppose so. Yeah, with the way that everything with the way the dominoes fell after that Bengals pick.
That's the worst part about it. You get one pick wrong, and it could have the domino effect. But you think Rashaan Slater? I could definitely see that happening. Back-to-back offensive lineman here. He's very talented, but I'm still holding strong. Even though Carolina's made the pick, I think this could be Justin Fields. I think that they, maybe they really liked him, and they didn't think he'd fall this far, and now he is, and they're going. We liked Sam Darnold, but hey, this guy could be better than Sam Darnold. Why not? Take 2 guys. And Sam Darnold, they traded some seconds and fourths and stuff. Nothing too crazy.
If Justin Fields gets picked here, all eyes are going to be on Denver in terms of, well, you didn't get the top 4 guys or 4 of the 5 guys. Yeah. So do you succumb to Mac Jones? Do you take the first defender off the board? Do you trade back? This pick is also another crucial one in terms of if they pick Justin Fields here. New England's chances of trading up are practically out of the water, I think, because I don't think anyone between Carolina and New England are really in love with Mac Jones.
Somebody will
And,
have to trade. Somebody will have to trade up.
That Belichick relationship with Nick Saban
could
be working wonders right now with this Mac Jones situation.
Yeah.
They exchanged plenty of information during the combines. We didn't get a combine, but
they
could be seeing something like that.
I mean, they're probably, I don't know, emailing or something. I doubt they're texting or Snapchat. But and who knows what Nick Saban's saying? Maybe Nick Saban's been warning him, and maybe we're going to see a mini fall. Maybe we're going to see a fall from Mac Jones. But if Justin Fields is the pick here, I know Jacob, who asked about him earlier, will be disappointed because he's one pick away from falling to his Broncos, and the Broncos, maybe jumping on that. But I think we see a quarterback come off soon, probably in one of these next 2 picks. I believe we've got Roger Goodell walking to the podium now.
This is a very big pick.
Yeah, this is big. I mean, I feel like if they take Rashaan Slater, I didn't even mention Devante Smith, who could easily go here and shore up, help Sam Darnold out. I mean, they went JC Horn. So
wow,
something I mentioned way earlier that we felt that we got off on. They went defense. They went corner JC Horn, which I'm a little surprised by. I didn't think it. I thought
I'm a little
I
was predicting around 10 for him.
I thought 10 was going to be the first defensive player off the board.
They might have missed the ball on this one. I'll be honest. Rashaan Slater, I think, would have been a safe pick. Devante Smith would have been kind of a fun pick. They didn't draft Justin Fields, which I think is in their best interest. But this, like I said, this could have been the opportunity to trade back, and maybe that's why it took them so long. Maybe they just didn't have that deal.
I think they must have.
I think they were talking with like a high teens pick, low 20s, something, maybe a Chicago or I think they might have been talking to one of those teams and just weren't getting enough in return. Which this is interesting on Denver's part, because you ask me, you go Justin Fields. It doesn't, as many holes as Denver has. You don't need receiver help. You don't need backfield help.
No.
The line maybe could use some work. The defense, it's just Von Miller, kind of out there trying to put something together. Unless you are, it's either Justin Fields or you trade back. It's one or the other.
Yeah.
I'm not saying he has to start day one. I know they just got Teddy. Teddy's a bridge quarterback, and I think anybody can really say that. If someone's really thinking Teddy Bridgewater is the answer for Denver, they're a little out of their mind. I mean, you could put Justin Fields behind a very mature quarterback in Teddy Bridgewater, and I think that would be that'd be very beneficial for this team. I'd be kind of disappointed in Denver if they don't go Justin Fields or trade back in this.
Yeah, I mean, we will see what happens. I agree that receiver is not really a big need here. I did
Cortland Sutton.
Once
the other dude?
Jerry Jeudy.
Jerry Jeudy, yeah.
But I did, once I saw them trade for Teddy Bridgewater, I did kind of change my opinion a bit, because for me, I just don't think, if you're planning on going quarterback, I mean, that trade for Teddy Bridgewater would have been there after the draft. The fact that they did that kind of signals to me that they weren't either sold on their guy falling to them. Maybe they wanted Trey Lance and they figured out he was going to the Niners, or they're not concerned on taking quarterback this year. I mean, Drew Lock hasn't been great, but he's going into his 3rd year. Maybe they are hoping, maybe they're going to give him one more year. Maybe they think that he
certainly do love Drew Lock over there.
And I mean, he's shown flashes, and there's nothing to guarantee that Justin Fields or Mac Jones will be better than Drew Lock. You have a young quarterback. You've got Teddy Bridgewater, who at the very least will be solid. But I switched to them going with Rashaan Slater. Offensive line to protect whoever does end up at quarterback, and the offensive line in Denver,
is not a terrible pick by any means.
The offensive line in Denver is pretty weak. I mean, Garrett Bowles kind of figured it out last year and is playing better, but they don't have a lot there. And, so I think Rashaan Slater could definitely be the pick here. That's what I would say, because I just the fact that they did that trade for Teddy Bridgewater. I know it's only a 6th round pick, which means that, you're not investing much in that, but the timing of that trade is a little confusing because for me, I would think you would wait and see, because if they get, do you need Justin Fields, Drew Lock, and Teddy Bridgewater? Somebody's got to be a third stringer there. It's a little confusing to me. So I think they're rolling the dice with Drew Lock for one more year, and then when they're picking this high again, most likely.
So are you predicting Drew Lock to start over Teddy?
I don't know.
You're saying there's a competition at least?
I think that they are saying we're going to see if Drew Lock can do it this year, because you know what you have in Teddy Bridgewater. He's solid. He's not going to be great, but he's not going to be terrible. So I think they're going to give Drew Lock another chance to see what he can do. And, we'll have a preseason this year. So, maybe he doesn't figure it out then. Maybe you give him a few weeks, but that you can always go to Teddy Bridgewater. So that would be my guess, and you get a guy in Rashaan Slater who can block for him. But Denver again is taking their time. We're down to about 220. So I think we're going to start seeing teams wait a little bit longer because they're going to want to just hear it out. If somebody's offering you,
this might be New England on the phone. I think.
Yeah, I mean,
I think this could be. This is, I think, the biggest possibility of Justin Fields coming off. I mean, if Justin Fields doesn't get taken here, then New England is, they're having a party right now.
Yeah. I mean, we've heard for months and months about all these teams trading back. We've heard Atlanta, like Cincinnati, Detroit, Carolina, Denver, all this, and
can we just get one? Can we just get one top?
Nothing's
10
happened,
trade, please?
So I mean, a lot of people thought, myself included, that we might see 5 quarterbacks go in the top 10. We've only seen 3 so far, and we're at 9. So, I don't know what it is. If are the teams?
Is Justin Fields in attendance there or no? Is it just Mac Jones that's there? Jones, Zach Wilson, and Trey Lance.
They haven't showed him, so I would guess not. They're showing Mac Jones right now. They just showed Justin Fields. He's at home, so he's not there. But so I don't know what it is. We're now almost to a minute on the clock for Denver. Are teams just valuing these picks too much and not willing to give it up for what's being offered? Are teams not willing to offer enough to convince these teams? I don't know what it is.
Can they not make a choice?
Yeah. Or are they, flipping a coin and saying best 2 out of 3, best 3 out of 5, best, are they?
To be honest, I don't think them running out of time is really going to hurt them, because if they just swap picks with Dallas, Dallas is just going to take a corner anyways. So it'd be embarrassing.
The pick is in. So that's not happening. But it would be embarrassing to not. You've got 10 minutes to pick one guy who you've been spending months trying to figure out.
I'm just imagining them swapping the picks with Dallas. Mm-hmm. Dallas taking a call from New England. Yeah. Accepting that trade. That would have been brutal.
Hey, maybe Dallas shocks the world and takes a quarterback because Jerry Jones wants to stick it to Dak Prescott, who's playing on the franchise tag.
The only thing I saw Jerry Jones remotely in love with was Kyle Pitts, which, get in line, Jerry. We're all in love with Kyle Pitts here.
He's not getting to 10, so good luck with that.
And if Jerry takes Justin Fields, I think Dak's gonna just sit out.
Be gone. But yeah, I do think that we're getting a bit ahead of ourselves, so I don't want to do that. But
that's true.
We'll talk about Dallas. These teams are taking longer now, so we've got more time to kill. But Denver. So what's your official pick here? Justin Fields, is that who you're rolling with? Is Justin Fields your official pick?
Is he walking across the podium yet?
Yes.
Not yet. We're going Justin Fields.
I'm still going Slater. I'm sticking to.
That's a good pick too, but I'm sticking with Justin Fields. I'm rolling the dice.
Yeah. I did have Trey Lance falling here before the Teddy Bridgewater stuff, but let's see what it's going to be. He's announcing it with the 9th pick in the NFL draft. The Denver Broncos select. The suspense is killing. Patrick Surtain, a guy we did not even mention.
Oh my gosh!
So I think. Well, Dallas is pissed right now.
Yeah, Dallas is real ticked right now.
I think they thought they were going to get one of those
goodness.
guys, and for both of them, I mean, that's not a bad pick. Surtain's really good.
It's not a bad pick.
And the Broncos, I'm fine with that because I don't think that Fields was a big need. But
New England's having a party right now.
Yeah, I mean,
they are
so. I mean, you got to think one of these guys is going to fall to them. I mean, now this brings in, Philadelphia. They're not the most quarterback needy.
Oh my goodness, Philadelphia might lose their minds.
Fields and Jalen Hurts. I mean, I don't think New York takes one.
Was it Jalen that used to be at Ohio State, or was it Joe Burrow?
It was Joe Burrow. Jalen Hurts is out.
Oh, he was at Oklahoma.
Yeah,
he went.
Yeah,
that's what it was.
But I mean, we could see something here. But I mean, Patrick Surtain's not a bad pick. I thought he was
not at all.
I thought he was a top corner in the class. Him and J.C. Horn really close. Both are incredible players. But
I'm excited to see J.C. Horn. He's going to be kind of a mini-me Jalen Ramsey, I think. Yeah. I think that's going to be a lot of fun to watch.
Surtain, I mean, this is a guy whose dad played corner in the league. I mean, so he's got the pedigree. Not that translates to anything, but he's physical. He plays really big. I mean, I think this is a guy who probably going to be the numnumber one corner in Denver from day one. So, I mean, that's a big thing for
they don't have Chris Harris Jr. anymore, do they?
No.
So
AJ Bouye's gone.
Oh yeah, he went to LA. He went to the Chargers.
He did.
Okay. Bouye's gone, and Bradley Roby's been gone. So I mean, I can't remember too many other people on that. I guess it's Justin Simmons at that safety spot, and then Patrick Surtain.
I think they've got Bryce Callahan still.
Yeah, well, who knows how much longer Justin Simmons is going to be with that Broncos team? I know he's not happy with getting franchise tagged either, but it's a good pick regardless. I still, I can see why you don't take Justin Fields here, but missed opportunity, I think. Yeah. Dallas, like you said, I think Dallas is real ticked here. They're going to have to go.
I'm wondering what they're going to do. They are now, a trade candidate.
Oh, Jerry's going to take Devante Smith. I just know he's going to do it.
There's no way. I think Rashaan Slater could be a pick here. The Cowboys' offensive line is not what it used to be,
That's true. Rashaan Slater would be a very solid pick for
Tyron Smith has been struggling with some injuries. They've obviously lost Travis Frederick. Still got Zach Martin, and that right tackle spot's been up in the air. So I think this could be I've said it. I said it last time. I've said it a few times.
Yeah, we were thinking Slater back in Carolina.
I said Justin Fields. You said Slater. So this is
that's right.
The third time in a row that somebody's going to say Slater, but I think Slater is going to be the pick here. But what do you think? I think Micah Parsons could be another name, maybe a linebacker. But
I feel like Jerry's looking for a home run right now. He's trying to look for a flashy pick.
Yeah. Mac
Jones sitting there. He'll be sitting there for a little bit more. But
their wide receivers are so good. I mean, they drafted CeeDee Lamb last year. They really do not, and
they didn't need CeeDee Lamb anyway.
No, their defense was horrible last year. So
yeah,
do they go with just their best?
Is it too early to get Greg Newsome?
Too early for him. But there's some linebackers.
And Jerry doesn't like trading back, so
Micah Parsons,
Jerry's not going to do that.
Jeremiah Owusu Karamoa. I think that could be. Oh, trade alert! So you're wrong.
We got a trade. Okay.
I think it's the Patriots. Who do you think?
Oh,
it's the Eagles. So
they're going up 2 spots for who? For who, Philly? Oh my goodness, Philly. Just when
that's really surprising. 2 picks. So I think I know who this is. I know who it is. We've got
Devante Smith.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. I think
that's not terrible
because I
think New York would have taken him.
Yeah, they're hopping over New York to get Devonta Smith. That's what I think.
Even though I don't agree with New York taking Devonte Smith, I think they would flourish taking Micah Parsons. I think this is for Devante Smith, and
I
you know
think so
what?
too.
I'll give credit to the Eagles. I was putting shade on the Eagles going in. I thought they were going to make a stupid decision, but I don't think this is all that bad. It depends on, I guess, what they gave them. But
Yeah, but this, I mean, they're being really aggressive. That's only 2 spots. It's funny because it's a interdivision trade to jump over another division guy. The NFC
yeah,
list
I'm
is all over
surprised.
this.
I'm surprised the Cowboys took that.
Yeah, so I think this is Devonte Smith. That would be my guess.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Oh my
but
god, if they do something else though,
maybe
it's gonna be
I mean,
crazy.
maybe it's a quarterback. I don't know. They just traded with Carson Wentz. I know they drafted Jalen Hurts last year, but we've seen
They
crazier
got Jalen
things.
Hurts. They brought in Joe Flacco. The new head
Okay,
coach
Joe
says there's a
Flacco.
competition. No, I'm just saying. I'm saying they got Joe Flacco there. They got Jalen Hurts. They say the competition's open.
Well, then
I
that's
mean,
a problem if Joe Flacco's
yeah,
competing.
it's a problem for whatchamacallit, for Jalen Hurts too, because
Uh-huh.
I think Jalen Hurts just needs a second year. I'm not saying he's going to be the next MVP of the league. You know, it's Jalen Hurts. I mean, the whole Philly organization is just, you know, a challenge to deal with in and of itself. But if they trade up and they take Fields here, that's going to be a bit crazy. But I think this is for Devonte Smith.
Yeah,
Is what my money is on.
That would be my guess. You know, but I mean, we'll see. That we just talked about we haven't gotten a trade. We got the first one. It's not what we were expecting. But we're joined by our resident Eagles expert, Ryan Wool from he's on Wildcat Dash. Have you seen that? He's our Eagles fan. We were planning on having him come in for the Eagles pick, and they jumped the gun. But what's your take on this, Ryan? What's your reaction to them trading up in the first place? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah, no problem. But I know we've talked about Devonta Smith. The only reason I think that would have been the case is if they figured out New York was taking him. But if they do go, and it looks like they only gave up an extra third along with that 12th overall pick, so not a huge deal. If they do go quarterback here, what would be your reaction? Would you like that, or would you be a little disappointed? Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
What are
Me
we
too.
doing here?
Yeah.
Yeah, having Jalen Hurts drafted just this last year with that second round pick, which already ticked off Eagles fans to begin with. I mean, if they get rid of Carson Wentz and then go to Jalen Hurts and then pick up Joe Flacco, say there's a quarterback competition, then draft a quarterback with a 10th overall pick. I mean, I can't imagine what Philly fans are going to do at that point. But we're the pick is in as well, so we're going to see this
pick is in
really soon.
I guess we're having some trouble hearing you, Ryan, on the stream. So when that is fixed, we'll get back to you again. Probably the pick will be in. But Goodell's walking to the podium. Ryan was saying that he likes Devonta Smith here. He thinks that that's the guy that he wanted. That's the guy that we all think that they're going to go with. So we're going to see in a second here. He's stopping to talk to the nice Eagles fans sitting in Roger Goodell's nice little comfy chair from last year. If you recognize,
At least
that.
they got some nice fans there. That's good.
Yeah. Oh yeah. On the chair for sure. So we're gonna see who that is. He's announcing it now. I think we're all in agreement that it's going to be Devonta Smith, but any second now he will be announcing it, And come on, it is Devante Smith. Devante Smith.
All right.
So we got that one right. Yeah, I really like that pick. I mean, this Eagles and wide receiver was something that a lot of people thought and a lot of people had pegged because they desperately need some help. They went wide receiver last year. They went with Jalen Reagor over Justin Jefferson, which I'm sure has Eagles fans.
So this must be a good redemption. I think kind of for Philly fans here. You get a Heisman winner for a wideout, right? I mean, not saying he's going to be Not saying he's going to be the next Odell Beckham. Not saying he's going to be the next Rashad Perriman, like we were talking about earlier. But he's going to make a big difference for this team, one way or another. Philly's kind of rebuilding that offense post Super Bowl. Geez, what is it now? 52?
Yeah, 52.
Oh wow,
52. Yes. So this is a great pick, though. He's the best route runner in the draft. I mean, besides Jaylen Waddle being kind of that speedster. This is a great pick. I mean, Ryan, what are kind of your expectations for Devante Smith going into this next season?
I mean, I think right away he's the clear number one option on this offense. I mean, they have Jalen Reagor from last year. I thought that was a bad pick. He didn't really show a lot in his rookie year. He was hurt. Alshon Jeffrey, Deshaun Jackson, got cut and released in free agency. So I think Smith should have 1,000 yards easily as a rookie. I'm going to say it. I think we've seen in the past few years receivers jump out to a hot start, and I think Smith's going to do that. He displays the ability to combine his speed with just catching over defenders in the red zone. I think he's going to be really good and a very special player. And to me, the steal of the draft, to get a guy like that, 10 overall, Heisman winner, as you said, I mean, I think he's going to be better than Waddle, and I think he's a better prospect.
Yeah, I liked him over Waddle. But I mean, are you worried that you're number one receiver that wasn't a former quarterback? Because I know Greg Ward was one of their best receivers. Are you worried that you have a true receiver leading the pack now, or is that a good thing?
No, it's a good thing. I think Smith has showed his ability to step into the role after Waddle getting injured last year, and he was the number one receiver going to on Alabama's team last season. So I think he's shown that he could jump in and take over right away. I mean, he's just a very high level player, and to me, one of the best Eagles draft picks in the last decade. I mean, this is a home run pick. I just question why anybody else would pass him up. I think he's on Jamar Chase's level, and he could be better than Chase. And Chase, as we saw, went 5 overall. So it's a no-brainer pick.
Yeah, well, I'm glad that you enjoyed this pick that the Eagles.
We got a trade that just happened.
We do.
I just saw that.
So we're going to get to that. Your division rivals, the Giants, won't be picking. I think the Eagles stole their guy, and so now they're throwing a bit of a fit.
Chicago making the pick?
But yeah, Ryan, thanks for jumping on. I'm glad that your Eagles.
Yes, thank you,
I'm
Ryan.
glad your Eagles made you happy.
Thanks, guys.
I'm glad for that. I'm glad as well.
Yeah, I appreciate you guys. Have a good rest of the night. Thanks for having me on.
You too. Yep, see ya.
Thank you. You too. Fly, Eagles, fly.
But yeah, I mean, we've got Chicago jumping up. I mean, this has to be a quarterback. If they don't draft a quarterback,
this has to be.
If
this is not a quarterback, this is a sequel to the 2016 draft.
Pay attention to your phone there, because you're about to laugh. They're showing live look at Justin Fields' empty living room. Oh, now the people are coming in. It looks like he.
Oh, they are? Okay. He was pulling a Belichick with his dog.
He might have been on the phone. Chicago might be going Justin Fields. The pick is in. but I think this has got to be.
Oh, that's a real pick. That's a real quick pick after following
Oh, they knew
following the trade.
they knew their guy. I would think. I mean, it's definitely a quarterback. I think we can. I mean, write that in, freaking chalk, or freaking write it in pen. Pencil.
We'll write it. We'll write it in erasable pen.
No,
I think is what we'll do, because as much as this is the pick to make, as much as that is the pick to make to take a quarterback, are we really going to trust Chicago before that pick is? I mean, there's got to be at least a little bit of doubt.
No, I just there's no way. I'm writing quarterback in pen, permanent marker. The next part, I don't know who. I get my guess would be Fields. Big tumble for Mac Jones. Anyways, he thought he had a chance at number 3, and now he's out of the top 10. But if he goes to New England, maybe that's it. But we've got the chance of somebody. I mean, there's one more quarterback on the board, so most likely after this, and who's going to get him? Somebody might make a move, or maybe New England's got to do it. We've just seen Philly jump 2 spots. So I'm excited to see what that is. But we've got doesn't look like Goodell coming to the podium, or no? So he is coming to the podium. Somebody else is meeting him out there. But do you think it's going to be Fields or Jones? What's your pick?
If it's going to be a quarterback,
it's going to be a quarterback.
I think it's going to be Fields. If it should be Fields. So there's a 2-parter to this. If it's going to be Fields, if it's going to be a quarterback, it should be Fields. If it's going to be a quarterback, will it be Fields? Is probably the next question.
Yeah. So we're about to get that in a second. My
this
money
could be
is
a
on
home run
Fields.
for Chicago.
Yeah.
This could be a home run for Chicago. Do you know what they gave up for it? Did it say?
No, I haven't seen that yet. They haven't showed that. He's talking for a long time up there. Just come on. We know it's a quarterback. We know the position. Let's just get to it. We have 50-50 shot here, Roger. But Bears fans, they might, they didn't get Russell Wilson in the offense. They did get Andy Dalton. I'm sure they're not happy with that. Are they? So this could be their shot to get their guy to at least bring some hope into that franchise. Quarterback has been a terrible. They've never really had a franchise quarterback there. So I think they'll be happy with anybody. Trubisky. The Trubisky experiment did not work out, so I'm sure they're very happy to move on from that. Oh my God, this pick is taking so long. They had Chicago Bears.
This better be the greatest pick ever made.
Yeah, for real. So we're gonna see. Roger Goodell had to walk. He walks really slow too. He really savors it. Had to walk all the way up there just to tell everybody that somebody else would be saying that. Oh, they're talking about charity. And healthcare. Okay.
Okay, take your time then.
But what we want to hear is him talk about Justin Fields going to Chicago, which is what's happening. So I'm sure Chicago fans must be elated right now. I mean, we talked about this. This is what we both thought should happen. We didn't know if it would because it's the Bears. It's draft day, they could really mess it up. But, what's your take? I mean, I assume you think that they made the right choice here.
Oh, I'm sorry. You kind of cut out there. What's the pick that they made? I'm sorry.
Oh, wow.
Justin Fields. I see it now. Okay.
They made Justin Fields.
Props to Chicago. I think this is a great pick. I'm not entirely sure what they gave up for it. To be honest with you, I don't think it really matters. I think this is a really good pick for Chicago in terms of bringing some more hope into the franchise. I mean, you're in a tough spot when you make the playoffs as a wild card, as an 8-8 wild card. You'd think that fans would be happy about making the playoffs, but it was just one of those spots where it's like. Yeah, but what are we really doing here, kind of thing? There wasn't really any true hope behind Chicago going into the playoffs. But this is a great pick. This
Mhm.
makes up. I would argue this makes up for Deshaun Watson back in 2016.
We'll
Taking
see.
Trubisky over Deshaun. I'm saying Justin Fields to me, I think, is the third best quarterback in this draft. Justin Fields has a bit of a smaller, kind of a smaller span of time in terms of him getting to the NFL level. I mean, what better quarterback to learn behind? I mean, there's probably numerous quarterbacks.
Andy Dalton.
What I mean is his IQ and his maturity, much like with the Teddy Bridgewater situation for Denver when they passed up on a quarterback, learning behind a mature quarterback in Andy Dalton who took over for Dak Prescott last year, where, I mean, the Cowboys fans just wanted to throw the whole season, in the gutter. But Andy Dalton's a smart guy. He hasn't had the best of luck throughout his career, but Justin Fields, I think, is going to down the road. I think the Bears are going to be really happy with this pick, but we'll see how it works out.
I mean, was it Mitch Trubisky the third best quarterback in the first round that year?
Yeah, pretty much. I see what they gave up here. It says it was their number 20th and their 64th pick plus a pair of 2022 picks. So 4 picks.
I would think
for the 11th pick, which
with the
they didn't give up a first rounder. So that's
gave
all
up just this year's. With the second, you got to think that one of those 2022s is at least a first or a second. I mean, moving up 9 picks for a quarterback, I mean, there could easily be a first rounder in there, another one, but we'll see. But I mean, at the end of the day, if you hit on a quarterback, it doesn't matter what picks you gave up, because if you get your guy, you get your guy. I mean, the Cowboys, they're on the clock. We talked about them earlier. Their pick is in, but I think they're a big winner in this because, they weren't going to pick Devante Smith. They weren't going to pick Justin Fields. So essentially the same guys that they were looking at back then.
Jerry Jones.
Yeah, I mean, they added a third rounder, and they're probably going to get the same guy that they wanted to pick before. I mean, got to think it's defense. They've got Leighton Vander Esch.
It's either going to be Greg Newsome or Micah Parsons. Maybe Cody Pay could make a leap here.
I think Greg Newsome seems a bit. Oh, Rashaan Slater's still on the board. Rashaan Slater's still there.
Are we gonna? We're sticking with Rashaan
I'm
Slater
still going
one more
with.
time.
I'm still going with Rashaan Slater. I'm just not convinced on the defensive talent right there. I think with the 2 corners off the board and Micah Parsons, I think has the talent to get picked here, but I mean, I think the Cowboys need more than a middle linebacker. So I'd go Rashaan Slater here with kind of just how the board has fallen. I mean, this is
they just had Sean Lee retire, I believe, right? So
yeah, but
they do have somewhat of a hole at that linebacker spot.
They've got Jaylen Smith, who's really good. They've got Leighton Vander Esch. Sean Lee retired, but he's injured every year. So I mean, I would just say Micah Parsons for me is,
and they just got Diggs at that corner spot.
Yeah. I mean, corner was a spot that they seemingly needed, and it's probably a bit too early for that. I mean, Micah Parsons is just the top defensive player there for me, so that's why I think that, if they wanted to go defense, it'd be that. But I'm still rolling with Rashaan Slater because, I think he's the best player. One of the best players still there. I've got just Micah Parsons ahead of him. But, so I would say it's one of those two. What about you? Oh, there you are.
They can't really go wrong with this pick, but I really hope that it's going to be defense. As much as Rashaan Slater, I think, is a solid pick for them in terms of kind of keeping up with that offensive line. I still think you got to go defense here because it's just. Dak Prescott was throwing 450 yards a game for the first couple of games, and were they, other than a lucky win over the Falcons and that onside kick shenanigans, like their defense was not making many plays. So you got to go defense here, I think. Every mock has had them do.
So who's it going to be if it's defense?
Everyone's expecting them to go defense. I'm gonna go a wild one here. I'll go Cody Pay.
I say Rashaan Slater, but if Yeah,
Marcus Lawrence can't do
I
it all
say
himself. So
I say Rashaan Slater, but if it is defense, I would go Micah Parsons. We will see what it's going to be real quick. They've got somebody.
I'd like to pick Micah Parsons. I
Yeah,
like the
I
wild
mean,
pick,
Micah
though.
Parsons would just load up that kind of linebacking core, but the defense needs all the help it could get. They've got
Mhm.
somebody rallying up the crowd right now, and it is Micah Parsons. Yeah, it is Micah
It is?
Parsons. So
Okay.
Micah Parsons comes off the board. This is a guy I thought could slide a bit because of some off-field concerns. Clearly did not do that, but I mean, this was a guy who could have possibly gone in the top 10, but still 12th overall, going to the Cowboys team that should be a lot more competitive this year. I mean, he's got a chance. I mean, the winner of that division was 7-9, so it's not crazy that they could win the division.
The NFC East today, the NFC East has gotten pretty interesting. I know Washington hasn't made a move yet, but I mean, the Giants getting
Giants traded.
They made a trade, right? Yeah, they traded, right? But the Eagles getting Devante Smith, Cowboys getting Micah Parsons. I think those are two valuable players that can kind of transform some of these teams in the NFC East. I honestly like, in terms of all the teams in the NFC East, I like the Giants most in terms of, you know, how close they are to success and maybe a playoff berth. And the Giants, we'll see if their trade works out, because going all the way down to 20, you're kind of stuck in the edge rusher territory, which everyone could use an edge rusher, you know. And this draft is kind of subpar with edge rushers, but they got a boatload of picks from Chicago, so they still got some insurance to work off of. But that Giants defense is a lot of fun. Daniel Jones has some weapons. Saquon's coming back. They could go offensive line as well. They could get one of the tackles later in the round. So I'm interested to see what the Giants do down the line.
Well, there's a lot more picks till the Giants are up after their trade. But Cowboy, I mean,
but we could talk about the Chargers. Yeah.
Well, I got one more thing on Micah Parsons. It says linebacker.
Okay, go ahead.
That's his position. But the dude can do everything. I mean, he had a lot of sacks.
He's like Isaiah Simmons a lot, and
he is. I mean, he had 5 sacks in 2019, the last year he played. He didn't play in 2020, but 5 sacks for an off-ball linebacker. I mean, the dude can rush. He can get to the quarterback. I mean, he makes tackles all over the field. The dude is freakishly athletic.
Yeah, I'm looking at his highlights. He's got some mean tackles out there.
I mean, this is a guy who
he makes arm tackles look like hit sticks out there.
I mean, this is a guy who, it says linebacker, but it should just say it should say weapon. It should just say baller.
Oh, that was a big hug for Goodell.
Yeah, I mean, he's the type of guy that, you know, he's not going to just line up 7 yards off the line of scrimmage every time, you know, fill a lane and drop back in the pass. They could use him off the edge, you know, to rush the passer. They could drop him into coverage, you know. They can, you know, kind of use him all over. So I think that's a good pick. But now we can get to the Chargers.
I can't quite.
What?
Yeah, let's get to the Chargers, because I'm questioning if they ran a 3-4 or 4-3 in Dallas.
They run a 4-3. They run a 4-3.
Oh, it's a 4-3. Okay, so that'll be interesting to see how they utilize him. Yeah. But the Chargers,
this is.
I think this is
my boy.
This is what, 5th time, 6th time to turn. I think this is Rashaan Slater.
It has to be offensive line. It has to be offensive line. I don't know which one that'll be, but I mean, if this isn't offensive line, then I mean, I would be absolutely shocked.
Is Penei Sewell still the only lineman taken? The only O lineman taken? That's nuts to me. Still got Elijah Vera Tucker on the board. Like, there were some mocks I had. There were some mocks I had 4 O linemen taken in the first 15.
It's still possible. We could see. I mean, maybe not 4, but we could see a run here. But I mean, this has to be offensive line. Rashaan Slater.
Rashaan Slater. I mean,
when I was going through, it's like if Rashaan Slater goes early, you take, you know, Elijah Vera Tucker. You take Christian Darrisaw. You take whatever offensive lineman, the best offensive lineman on the board right now. You draft him, and so luckily for them, Rashaan Slater has, you know, not gone as high as people thought. So I think that's going to be the.
I had him going 8. I think I had Christian Darrisaw going at this spot. In my mocks. So.
They just were showing some Mac Jones, you know, a little promo thrown around. I mean, New England everybody was talking about are they going to trade?
Mac, you are going to get picked.
But I mean,
you're going to get picked at 15.
Looks like it. They could get a quarterback, maybe not the one they wanted, maybe the one they wanted. We won't know without having to trade up. So that would be big. But because the Chargers are certainly not taking a quarterback. I mean, Minnesota. If I'm Minnesota, I'm starting to field some calls. Who wants a quarterback because this might be the last chance you can get one.
Minnesota's another. Yeah, Minnesota, I feel like would be in shopping for anything defense, especially an edge rusher. And I think Minnesota could trade back with some of these teams. Maybe.
Yeah, but I mean,
New Orleans was trying to be
could be
aggressive today. So
could be New Orleans. And now it depends on who wanted Mac Jones. But I mean, Chargers, the pick is in on a commercial break, so we won't get that for a while. But I mean, if they don't go offensive line for whatever reason, I mean, who could it even be? What could the pick be?
I mean, the secondary set, the defense as a whole, I think is pretty set. I mean, receiver, they still got Keenan Allen. Mike Williams isn't a great receiver,
but they're solid.
They don't have Hunter Henry anymore. He went to New England,
but tight end. They got you can't go tight end.
They got Austin. They got Austin Eckler at back. It's got to be to protect Herbert. If there's anything that people can take away from the Chargers season, it's they didn't make the play. They didn't make the playoffs. They're competing against Patrick Mahomes. But they didn't make the playoffs. It's still extremely promising. Like this team and the Panthers and the Giants are teams that stand out to me that are like, we had an off year, but we got some valuable picks. We got some valuable players. The Chargers, if they do not protect the what I would argue is the biggest stunner in the draft last year, Justin Herbert. I mean, people nitpicked him to high heavens, and he shocked so many different people. It's got to be to build around him at this point. I mean, Chargers, this is your next Phillip Rivers here. And he could very well be better than Phillip Rivers ever was in 5 years. And he's got legs to move around with. He's got a big arm and real tall body, just like Phillip. I mean, this has got to be to just protect the guy and get him what he needs to succeed.
Yeah. I mean, if for some reason they don't go offensive line, just based on who's still on the board and all that, I think it would have to be, edge rusher. It'd have to be pay just because he's the best guy still there. I mean, I wouldn't advise doing that, but just based on the fact that he's the one that's still on. I mean, it'd have to be that, because other than that, I mean, Jeremiah Owusu-Karamoah maybe. I mean, as a linebacker, get a weapon. But
I'm just surprised. I'm glad that you know how to pronounce his name. I don't.
So I mean, Rashaan Slater. I mean, he's got to be the picker. He's one of the best players still there. They're showing some Mel Kiper big board stuff. He's number one on that. Elijah Vera Tucker's up there too, but I would go with Rashaan Slater. This is a guy that was at a few points a little bit of buzz about him being picked over Penei Sewell. That obviously didn't hold out, and I don't think there was a lot of that. But I think it's he would. This would be another steal here at 13, I think, because this is somebody that you heard it from us 3 different times. We thought we're going in the top 10. So I like. I don't want to say I like that pick. I would like that pick if they make it. But we'll see. We'll see how it goes here.
One of those linemen. It's got to be one of the Elijah Vera Tucker or Rashaan Slater. It's got to be one of them. Yeah. If you were thinking about taking one later on, you would have traded it away. If they do anything other than offensive line here, this is a mess.
Yeah, and like we talked about earlier with Joe Burrow, make your quarterback happy. He wanted a wide receiver. You've got to think Justin Herbert wants an offensive lineman. He was hit around a little bit, and the Chargers clearly showed that was a priority. They went out and they signed Corey Linsley at center. They're paying up, and they're showing that offensive line is a priority, and so I expect them to continue to do that with this draft selection. The pick has been in for a while now. They're taking their time, but there we go. Goodell is at the podium. So I think we're in agreement that it's going to be Slater here, but we've been wrong before. So I guess we've been pretty good recently after the trades have happened and everything. It is Rashaan Slater. So boom.
There we go.
That's
1 for 5 with the Rashaan Slater.
I mean, yeah, eventually. But I mean, ever since 10, 11, I mean, I said Rashaan Slater at 12, but I half said Micah Parsons. We've been doing pretty good since that's happened. But yeah, I mean, they get Rashaan Slater, they get their guy to protect their guy, Justin Herbert. This could be 2, back-to-back first-round picks that really pan out. I like this selection here. I think it's good value to get a guy this good, at this position where they probably, I think they were prepared to draft Elijah Vera Tucker or Christian Darrisaw. I don't think they thought they'd get Rashaan Slater here.
This is a steal in itself as well. Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, the dude can play tackle. The dude can play guard. At the end of the day, he can block whoever's lined up across from him, and that's something that any team can use, but especially a team with a second-year quarterback that they need to protect for the long haul.
And did the Chargers not pick up Pouncey, Maurice Pouncey, or Mike Pouncey?
I think he's.
Or sorry, it was Hudson. Hudson.
No, Hudson went to Arizona.
I think
they got
Arizona.
Corey Linsley.
What's
Corey Linsley? He's a center.
I think that's what I'm thinking of. Okay, no, sorry about that.
Good.
It's just going to keep beefing up that offensive line, and at this point on, go through this next season and try to make the best effort you can playing Kansas City twice a year, but even the Raiders as well. Keep just chipping away and keep developing Herbert, because next thing you know, Herbert could be right up there with Patty Holmes getting that wild card spot. Same thing with that was kind of Buffalo's route with New England AFC East. I mean, New England ran that division for so long. Tom Brady just absolutely rolled that division for so long. Josh Allen comes up behind, and the Bills are now an AFC favorite going into these next couple of seasons. So I see the same thing happening with the Chargers. You have the defense established already. You got a good quarterback that people were kind of doubting going in. They already got their Stephon Diggs and Keenan Allen, and they arguably have a better, running back core than Buffalo. But I see them as, literally the exact same as the Bills go into these next few seasons. And I'm happy for Herbert to get some extra protection, because I think the guy is going to continue to shock some people out there.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
And Minnesota's taking a little bit of their time as well.
But, I mean, Minnesota, what's the pick here for them? Oh, they traded. That's why. I was talking about this. This has got to be – it's got to be – is it New Orleans or Washington?
They traded?
New Orleans or Washington? Okay. What do you think? Oh, wow. Big shocker. You won't be able to guess this. This is surprising. So I can't imagine. No, it's the
Ravens.
Jets. So it's not
the Jets. Who are you taking?
It's Mac Jones. They're doubling down.
My goodness! Talk about a story.
I mean,
it's got to be Elijah Vera Tucker is the only thing that makes sense.
Yeah, but I don't get why you trade up. I mean, I guess it's 23, but it seems weird to trade up.
Why aren't they getting aggressive?
Yeah, I mean, I would think it's Elijah Vera Tucker. I mean, it could be Kwity Paye. But I don't. I mean, unless New England's not,
Kwity Paye could have easily fell to them,
or somebody as good as him. I mean, I can't believe they're so sold on him. That's a big surprise. I was thinking. I mean, obviously thinking quarterback with New England right there, but that's a real shocker. So we'll see. New York, when we thought that you we're doing all right. You're taking Zach Wilson. You're not going to mess this up. They do this, which I'm
still trying to piece together who they would take. I mean, I would assume it'd be offensive line.
I mean, it could be.
It could be a good old line.
It could be a running back. if they thought that,
which would be even more crazy. Like
if they
to trade
thought
up for
that, if they thought that, I don't think New England, but if they thought Arizona, if they thought somebody soon was going to take a running back and they really want, Najee Harris,
Arizona just got James Conner, so
yeah, but it's like I'm just thinking like that's the position that they're going to commercial, so they're going to let us stew on this for a while. But I mean, I'm just looking at.
Did they make the pick?
No, it's in, but it'll be.
Oh, it
a
isn't.
while,
Oh, okay. Oh, it just said it was in on here, but okay.
I'm just looking at it. I don't know. I
mean, who's really left on your big board that could even play into this spot? I mean,
obviously Mac Jones is still my highest, but that's a quarterback that's out of the question. I've got Kwity Paye, Christian Barmore, Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah, Najee Harris.
Christian Barmore, I think might make some sense.
But that was a guy. I mean, I'm higher on him than a lot of people are. So I mean, that was something I think you definitely
maybe Saleh likes him. Saleh's a defensive-minded coach.
They drafted Quinnen Williams a few years ago, but I mean, I'm gonna say it's Najee Harris.
That'd be a very aggressive move.
Yeah, I don't like that move, but that's the only thing I could think of.
I think I predicted the Jets to draft Najee Harris at their original spot. Does that count?
Yeah. No. I mean, it counts for something. I'll give you. You get a few points for that. But I mean, yeah. I mean, so what do you think? I know you said Elijah Vera.
Sorry, I think I said Najee Harris to the Steelers, and they were taking Travis Etienne. Is that you said?
Etienne.
Etienne.
So what's your pick?
I think it's got to be Christian Barmore. I think because it's not either him or Elijah Vera Tucker, but it would make more sense for Barmore because I think I tie this back to Robert Saleh being a defensive-minded coach. I think maybe something sticks out to him, and he wants to establish the defense more than anything else. I mean, that's what San Fran did when he got there, and they made it to the Super Bowl because of their defense. So maybe he's trying to do the same thing as the head coach now. That's obviously not a bad thing to do when you're playing against Josh Allen and Tua and even Cam Newton twice a year. Every good team's got at least one great pass rusher. Every legitimate playoff threat, other than maybe Buffalo and
Jerry Hughes isn't
Jerry Hughes. Yeah, he's nearing the end of his tenure. I think the Bills might take an edge rusher when it gets time for their pick. But every team's got a good edge rusher, run stopper, defensive line juggernaut, if you will.
Yeah.
I mean, Myles Garrett's absolutely changing the culture in Cleveland alongside with Baker Mayfield. So I would think that's my pick, is that they're going to go with either an edge rusher or they're going to go with Christian Barmore. I would be shocked if it's Najee Harris.
Yeah.
But it's going to be an interesting one. Not gonna lie, I was not expecting them to jump. What was it, like 9 picks?
10
picks?
9.
Oh, 9, yeah.
From 23. Yeah, I mean, edge rusher comes to mind, but I just don't. I don't think that. I mean, if Kwity Paye's a guy, whoever it is, I just don't think it's worth jumping this much for. I just don't think there's an edge rusher good enough because nobody has really fallen other than Mac Jones. Mac Jones, has fallen, but they're clearly not going for him. So it's nobody is. There's nobody there that they didn't think was going to be there at 14. There's nobody that they were like, oh my gosh, he's still on the board. Let's go get him. Which, I could see in that scenario, you trading up for somebody. But I mean, my guess is it's got to be a position that is, not competitive. There's one or two guys that somebody's going to take. So Najee Harris, I don't think that should be the pick by any means, but I mean the dude's talented. Yeah, I've got him around that. Roger Goodell's at the podium making the selection now, but we're gonna see who it's.
Do you think maybe receiver?
No, because it was a top. Maybe, but that's really aggressive for a deep receiver class. Jets fans look happy, so they're. Can you show me what it is? It still says Jets. Oh, Elijah Vera Tucker. It's Elijah Vera Tucker. So, yeah.
Oh, okay. That was one of my.
Yeah, I'm okay. I'm okay with
multiple.
that because he wasn't gonna make it to 23, but so it's good to be aggressive if you wanted your guy. I might have had them taking him.
Uh-oh.
What?
They're spoiling the next pick. Mac Jones is on the phone. And he's smiling.
I mean, is that a spoiler?
I think it is because New England's right up next.
Yeah, but I mean, we figured that was going to happen. Yeah, it looks like the little.
That's true.
Now, but I mean, that good for the Jets. They get their guy to protect their guy, just like we saw with the last pick with Rashaan Slater. So I think that was a good pick. He's.
It would have been funny if
really
they kept
guy.
a hold. It would have been funny if they kept a hold of Sam Darnold. They just had him like sitting there, and then Elijah Vera Tucker walks in. Oh, hey.
I was scared when I saw they showed Mac Jones on the phone, like with the Jets fans freaking out, and I thought, what the heck is like? There's no way that just happened. So I'm glad that wasn't the case. That looks like to be the next pick. It looks like their little bottom graphic thing is a bit slow because it still has the Jets logo on there. But no, I mean Elijah Tucker is a great pick. This is a guy who really rose up the draft boards at the as we got closer to the draft. So I mean, I'm sure Zach Wilson. I mean, he's already excited, and I think that this Jets team that has got a lot of hate. What the heck is happening? Oh, you're gonna have to watch that because it just showed some weird things. But we're now joined by a USC expert, Sam Arslanian. He is Trojan Dash, a big USC guy. He's gonna tell us about Elijah Vera Tucker that he got to watch down there in LA. Sam, what can you tell us about this offensive lineman weapon?
Well, it's another pick from USC that I get to see die in New York for a couple of years. So that's really unfortunate. But, Elijah Vera Tucker is a very versatile guy. And you do have a young quarterback, and the Jets are probably in a better situation now than they were when they drafted Sam Darnold a couple of years ago. But what you're getting with Elijah Vera Tucker is a really great guy. Not only is he a very versatile guy, from a football standpoint, right? He moved to tackle this past year. He's going to actually go back to guard probably in the NFL. Be a starter out there on left guard, and he's done that before. But this is a guy that can kind of move around a little bit and be what you need. So I think that's a really good pick for the Jets, just because the Jets need a lot right now. Having someone that's that versatile. And Elijah Vera Tucker is a great guy, too. Great locker room guy. Just an awesome person to be around. Great guy to have in your locker room. I mean, it's a really solid pick for the Jets, especially with a young quarterback that they're going to need to protect. So I think it's a good pick for the Jets. My USC fan in me is like, I wish maybe he went somewhere else, but great pick for the Jets.
I mean, he could have gone to LA. He could have stayed in LA and protected.
I would have loved to see that
guy and Justin Herbert. That would have been great. And a bit of a better spot than New York, but I mean, maybe they're trending up. Maybe they won't be terrible forever. But I mean, I think Elijah Vera Tucker will be good, and he'll contribute to whatever success they do have.
Oh, most definitely. I mean, I think you've already seen that with the offensive lines, with the guys coming out of USC from offensive line. These guys are NFL ready when they do there. I mean, USC's got a couple of their guys coming later today. Later in the draft. Probably not anymore today. But what you're getting with Elijah Vera Tucker is a great pick. I really wanted to see him with Herbert. I think the Chargers would have had a great pick in him. And I think that would have worked out really well for them. Maybe we see, a couple more fans show up to SoFi Stadium than we're used to seeing in, Dignity Health Sports Park down in Carson. I don't even know what it's called. That's how irrelevant it is. But yeah, that's where I stand on that. I wish he stayed in LA. I wish he stayed, went to the Chargers, but Jets it is, I guess.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, the big city, the Big Apple, New York. What can go wrong? But the next picks actually come in, and surprise, surprise, Mac Jones to the Patriots. They got their guy. I mean,
That's a point for me. I got that one right. Thank you.
Yeah, I had Justin Fields making it to there, but I mean, they got dramatic shots of him walking in, finally getting his moment. He's been waiting a lot longer than he thought, but I mean, the Patriots getting a guy
he was speed walking onto the stage. He was real excited.
For real.
Yeah, he was. I tweeted this earlier, but when he was sitting there, they showed a shot of him sitting there before the draft, or like I think it was like around pick 10 or something like that. And I tweeted, I'm like, I'm getting real. There were 9 mistakes made ahead of me vibes from Mac Jones right now. So we'll see how that pans out if he's Rosen 2.0. But granted, he's coming from Alabama and not the school, to the west of us. But
at least it wasn't some Geno Smith, spend all of round 1 in the green room and have to come back the next day. So at least he got his name called. But I mean, going to New England, so that's got to be fun. I mean, you got to imagine he'd rather go to New England than Chicago or some of these other places drafting quarterbacks. But I mean, happy for that.
I mean, if there's a great spot for him to go, if there's a spot that is going to benefit him the most, it was never going to be San Fran. It was going to be New England. I mean, New England just signed Cam to just a 1 year. I'm being serious. They just signed Cam to just a 1 year deal. Cam knows he's just there just to kind of take some snaps for right now. New England's not going to be back in the playoff picture this next season. But Mac Jones, Alabama, Nick Saban, Bill Belichick, this seems like a match made in heaven. I mean, their connection as coaches speaks louder than words right now in terms of this pick, because if there's anybody that is a non-athletic quarterback who's used to throwing to some pretty good targets and having a pretty stellar defense, it's going to be a guy like Mac Jones. I mean, what next guy to have to be the predecessor to Brady? I'm not saying he's going to be Brady. I'm saying he's just a predecessor. Yeah, I think this is not a day 1 start by any means. This may not even be a week 10 start. We'll kind of see how Cam plays out. He could have some issues with health and whatnot, but this isn't a day 1 start. But this is going to be a bit of a project, and then watch out, because Belichick will come right back.
Well, I gotta connect you with my Patriots buddy, because my phone is blowing up right now, because he called it like 5 picks ago. He's like, we're gonna take Mac Jones, and I'm gonna be real mad about this. So he's clearly not very happy. Yeah. But I'll leave you guys to your show as the Cardinals pick is now in. I do want to say one more thing. Steal of the draft will be Amon-Ra St. Brown, sleeper. I guarantee it.
I thought you were hinting at some late first round St. Brown love with your comment earlier, but yeah, I mean, good player. But
he's a second round. He's a second round, and he's a steal in the second round.
All right. Well, maybe the Jets. Maybe the Jets go.
God, please, dear God, no. Jeez.
You'd love to
Lions,
see that, but
Lions, Detroit. Let's go.
That's not much better. Not much better. But yeah, thanks for hopping on, telling us all about the
Sam.
New Jets offensive lineman Elijah Vera Tucker.
All right.
But yeah,
see you guys later.
See ya. We've got Cardinals. I haven't talked about them, but Roger Goodell's hopping up there. Corner was a position they need desperately, probably more than any. So I'd go Caleb Farley here. That's what I kind of thought. I like the talent there. Wondering what you thought. Get it in real quick before they make that selection.
Yeah, there's a lot of positions kind of set in stone not set in stone, but got some very some good promising players. I wouldn't be surprised if they go receiver. Hot take.
Well,
but
they didn't.
I think
they went.
Oh,
they went
Zayvon
Collins,
linebacker. Oh, so they're really stacking up that front seven. That's interesting. That's
yeah. I mean, they went Isaiah Simmons last year, so maybe this suggests that they're gonna play Isaiah Simmons at safety or something.
Help out Buddha a little bit. I'm honestly surprised that they didn't go corner. I think corner was like the probability. They just lost Pat Pete. I would think you'd want to figure.
Yeah.
I would think you'd want to fill that out. I had Zayvon Collins going 32nd to Tampa. I did not think he was going to be this early on.
Especially this pick. If you don't go corner, that's fine. You know, there's some pretty good guys, you know, out there. I mean, I like Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah, you know, much better than Zayvon
I think
Collins.
he likes saying his name as well.
I love it. It's a bit shorter, but it is fun to say. But he's kind of like an Isaiah Simmons. But I'm just confused here by I understand not going corner if that's probably the biggest need, but I feel like, you know, Zayvon Collins, he's a great player, but, you know, I would have liked to see a Christian Barmore or even I guess they got JJ Watt. But
that's the thing. I even saw more predictions for a D line or an edge rusher at this spot, even when they just got JJ Watt, because I think people were thinking they really wanted to stack that D line in a division with such, you know, rich quarterbacks now. So I don't think it's a terrible pick. I think it's decent. That linebacking core is going to be really young and exciting, considering, you know, Isaiah Simmons is going to be kind of fluctuating around the field. Zayvon Collins is going to be at one of those linebacker spots. Who knows if he's going to be able to rush the quarterback in that 3-4 system. So I think it's going to be fun. Caleb Farley, I think, would have been the better pick, though. I'll be honest.
Yeah, I would have liked the corner, because if you're going for Zayvon Collins, then it's not too. I mean, Caleb Farley and Greg Newsome, I think, are around, you know, kind of where he's at. So if you're willing to reach kind of down the board, then I think go corner. But the Raiders are now on the clock. Las Vegas Raiders, and you know, now we're at the point where there are a lot of, I mean, you can go a lot of different ways. You can go a lot of different places there. You know, we've got the top, you know, 14, 15 guys off the, you know, board. So it's kind of wide open. So what do you expect here?
I will, I'm just going to make the shout out real quick. Hopefully he's not watching, but if he is, I have to. I've heard a Raiders fan say, "Oh, Najee Harris would be a ton of fun." I'm like, you guys,
you don't need more running backs.
You have Josh Jacobs right there. But anyways, I had to throw that out there really quick.
They signed Kenyon Drake.
I had to throw that out there real quick. But the other thing that my friend that's a Raiders fan said is that it's got to be defense. I mean, Las Vegas.
Yeah, a few years old there.
Las Vegas, they got some really promising talent on offense. Obviously, Josh Jacobs. Obviously, Darren Waller. I mean, Derek Carr has been getting the most of the heat in terms of how that offense has been performing, and they just got Henry Ruggs. I wouldn't be opposed to a receiver pick here. I mean, I don't think they have Nelson Aguilar anymore. No, just got rid of Tyrell Williams. That's right. And I think a corner is probably their biggest spot here. I think Caleb Farley or Greg Newsome is the pick here for what they should do. Yeah. Perhaps an edge rusher, perhaps a linebacker. Put it this way. Get someone on defense, and I think you'll make Raiders fans happy. But I think receiver could be fun. Yeah,
I mean, they definitely need pass rush, which is something they've been addressing every draft for the past few years. Cleveland Ferrell.
And they lost a lot of people in that O-line as well. I didn't even mention that.
Yeah, that's where I was going. But so I think pass rush is there. But I mean, they cut or traded away 3 starting linemen. I mean, they're just getting rid of them like they're going out of style, and that's really important. So, you know, I penciled them in for Christian Darrisaw, I believe, who is my top offensive lineman still on the board. So I think, you know, but I didn't expect Kwity Paye to be there. So, you know, maybe if you want to go defense, I'd go Kwity Paye. I mean, Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah, JOK, like I've been saying, I mean, the dude's versatile. He can kind of play all over. He's, you know, a great defensive weapon at that linebacker position. But I would say go Darrisaw here because, you know, the defense needs help, but, you know, it's needed help for a while. So, I mean, unless they really like Kwity Paye, who is surprisingly kind of there at 17, I'd go Christian Darrisaw. You know, I think he's a guy who can really shore up the offensive line that now has 3 new holes after getting rid of Trent Brown, Rodney Hudson, and Gabe Jackson. So the offensive line needs a lot of help.
Yeah, as long as it's not a pick that's going to tick off Raider fans, because I think
As long as
I
it's
think the
not
Raiders-
Najee Harris.
Yeah, if it's Najee Harris, I'm sorry, that should tick off Raider fans. No,
Yeah.
like
He's
just because you have
walking.
he's
Yeah,
like
go
he's
ahead.
a top 10 back in the league, and
Mhm.
you got Kenyon Drake, who honestly is going to be probably one of the best backup backs in the league. I would imagine.
The signing of Kenyon Drake was confusing and unnecessary. So definitely the drafting of a running back. I don't think that's happening. I'm going Darisaw. And I was kind of right because it was an offensive lineman, but it was Alex Leatherwood out of Alabama. Who,
Wow.
He's a guy that I had, he's in my top 50. He's a guy that I thought could go late first round. But something that, we forgot to mention about Las Vegas is the Raiders, they love to draft guys from big time programs. They love to go to the Ohio State and the Clemsons and the Alabamas. So I think that might have played a factor here. Looking at the offensive linemen that are left, you don't have that. Alex Leatherwood's from Alabama. The dude's legit. He's battle tested. He's played in the SEC. So I could see that I have to assume that played a big role in this selection, is that they wanted a guy from a premier program. So they went Alex Leatherwood, and they went offensive line, which I thought they needed to do. So I'm okay with that. The pick's a little confusing, but at this point, get the guy that you want. Get the guy that you think is the best. Don't adhere to everybody's big board. So I'm happy with the pick. I think that it's good. I think Raiders fans might freak out, but they should be happy because they addressed a big position of need.
Yeah, I think they'll be okay. I'm interested with this. With this Dolphins pick. I believe this is via Steelers.
This is their own pick. It's their own pick.
Oh, right. Because
the earlier one was Texans, Houston. Yeah,
great. That's right. They had gotcha.
Third pick.
I'm interested with this pick because kind of our Rashaan Slater sequel here. Can we get Christian Barmore off the board now, please? I mean, you guys are trying to.
This is where I had him. I'm big on Christian. Yeah. I'm big on him, but I know a lot of people aren't. Pick is in, so they will be keeping it. The second pick of the day. I know some people aren't, but I mean, if I'm looking at the Dolphins, they've got Brian Flores, who is a New England, Bill Belichick. He's learned from him. He loves the guys on defense, but I'm gonna sound like a broken record because Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah is the defensive Swiss Army knife that these teams love. I mean, it's what Kyle Van Noy was for the Patriots, and then the Dolphins. So be the pick here, and I promise that if he's not picked here, well, actually no, because I like him at the next spot too. But if he's not picked soon, I will stop talking about him. But I think defense here, there's a lot of value, and I think Brian Flores wants defense. So I'd go there. I mean, they got Jaylen Waddle already. They got an offensive weapon. They're happy with that. So now it's just who I think they got to address the other side now.
Would I be crazy if I said Najee Harris or
they
would be a fun pick
would
here?
Absolutely be a fun pick. They've got
that's Tua and Najee getting right back. They were getting right back at it with each other.
They were rolling out a different University of Washington undrafted free agent running back every week and doing good. So this is definitely, we're starting to get to the picks where running backs could come off the board. So they're making the selection right now. So we'll see. I still think defense. I'd love to see Barmore come off here.
They should go defense. They really should.
Yeah. Jalen Phillips, defensive end. Okay. So defense, I like it. The dude's uber
straight out of Miami.
talented.
Really went out of your comfort zone there.
Yeah,
Miami.
for real. He's Miami. He's a not local.
He's got to be pretty happy.
He went to UCLA before that, but this is a guy who can make an impact right away. Really good. I believe I had him third my third defensive end. So I like that selection. I think that they definitely need pass rush. That's not their biggest strength. So I've got no problem with this pick.
Yeah, I'm gonna see if I can pull up my my mock draft here real quick.
Yeah, let's see where you're at now.
To see where I had Jalen Phillips, because I want to say I had him a similar spot. I
believe I
have. But I also had Christian Barrymore taken at this point. But let's see if I think Washington would be another good spot for it, because Chase Young and
their D line is
you're set at that point.
Stacked though. They've got 4 first-round picks across that D line.
Right. Is Kerrigan still there? And
he might be a free agent now.
Who else did they get recently?
But Washington. This is where I think the defense was really good last year, so they could look to bolster it. I mean, they could go offensive line with some guys, really good guys still on the board like Christian Darrisaw and Tevin Jenkins. They honestly could go wide receiver. They could go. I mean, they've got Terry McLaurin, but not much else. And quarterback is a bit up in the air. They've got Ryan Fitzpatrick and, my boy out of Old Dominion, the playoff legend, Taylor Heineke. But, so wide receivers not too far out of the question here. Might be a little bit early for one, but, I mean, we could see that. Washington, I mean, they're a solid team. So there's a lot of ways they could go that'd be really helpful.
Yeah, maybe they've kind of established that defense is already kind of set, and maybe they're wanting to go on offensive route here. I'm not too informed on their offensive line situation. That could be something that they kind of take into account. It seems like they have kind of an answer with Antoine Gibson at that running back spot. You probably maybe take a quarterback in a later round and see if you can get maybe a 3rd or 4th round quarterback. Not here, but receiver would be interesting. Like an Elijah Moore, I think would be real fun alongside Terry McLaurin there. You're having Ryan Fitzpatrick throw to you, but it's better than some quarterbacks. So maybe they go offense here and kind of invest there, because the defense. I mean, the defense is what got them in the playoffs in the first place. The defense is what almost kind of shocked Tampa in the first round.
I mean, definitely. If there's,
I think offense might be a possibility.
If there's one team that does not need edge rush, it's this team. That Chase Young, number 2 overall pick last year. Montez Sweat was a first rounder the year before. Those guys are legit, and then they've got some good guys on the interior. Doesn't mean that they can't go back there. They've drafted, I believe, a defensive lineman in 3 or 4, I think 4 straight years now. They've drafted defensive line in the first round. So probably don't go back there, but maybe they want to make it 5. So I'd probably lean wide receiver or offensive line. Yeah, I don't know what they need at offensive line. I mean, I did have Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah going here. So I think that's definitely possible. And now I promise that I won't talk about him after this pick, but I did have him going here. So I could see that happening, but he's one of my favorite players in the draft. So, excuse me for bringing him up. I think he will be a steal wherever he goes at this point, but I'd go Elijah Moore here if I had to, kind of make an official pick.
I'll be honest, not a very exciting pick.
Wide receiver, man.
It's a pick nonetheless.
Oh, are you talking about yours?
I'm just talking about. About Washington in general. I mean, there's so many different ways they can go. There's not too many prospects that are really jumping off the board.
At this point.
If they don't go receiver here, keep an eye out for New York that traded back. Could take one, or they could take a rusher in themselves as well.
Yeah, but, I think.
And then after New, we have Indy he could use a lot of receiver help. So
I think we're going to start seeing a run on
yeah.
wide receivers pretty soon. I think we're going to, see some of them because obviously we had that top three. We had those big three guys, and they were going to go early, and then we knew there'd be a bit of a break. But I think we could start to see that. Like you mentioned, New York. I mean, they might have. We've got to believe that they wanted Devante Smith earlier. That had to have been the reason that Philly jumped them. So they could be in the market for one now. Obviously, like you mentioned, Indy, and then the further we get along, the more those wide receivers, just become more enticing because you're putting them with good quarterbacks. But I mean, I think we could start that run here. I think just based on how the board has fallen, some of the guys that they may have been targeting coming off. I believe, Goodell's coming up to the podium now, so we'll get that answer really soon. But I think Elijah Moore. What's your official take? Official prediction? They're about to announce it, so we've got that coming in, and Jamin Davis, another linebacker, but not the linebacker that I would have thought.
I'll kind of agree with you on Elijah Moore.
Yeah.
If not, maybe.
Well, the pick is in, Ryan. If you can hear me, they've got Jamin Davis from Kentucky, another linebacker.
No,
so linebacker is really flying off the board.
Receiver here
right now, surprisingly, and not the guy I would have expected coming up here. I've talked about. My guy JOK, but so we'll see what happens here. But Jamin Davis, I think linebacker was a position they definitely could have gone with. I don't think that is too bad of a pick, but I'm a little surprised by the guy who they did take. I think that there were a few, I think there were some better options there personally. If I was the one making the pick, I mean, the guy's good, but like I said, I think offense could have used some help. I think there were some different positions that could have used addressing with some guys that are much kind of higher up than I would have had Davis. I mean, there's some better linebackers there. And so we're going to see, but New York is now up on the clock. And like we talked about earlier, they were probably in the market for a wide receiver, which is why Devante Smith, was taken by Philly. It's why Philly jumped over them. But wide receiver could be in play here. Obviously, with Elijah Moore, Rashad Bateman, Kadarius Toney, Terrace Marshall. I mean, a handful of wide receivers that are clearly worth being taken at this point in the draft. But, we could be looking at other guys. Offensive line, which was an issue before. They addressed it last year with Andrew Thomas, but they're certainly not done. They need more help than just one guy. And so there's some good tackles still on the board. We can see pass rusher. They re-signed Leonard Williams or franchise tagged him, I believe, but he's back for a year. But other than that, they haven't been great at rushing the passer. So we could see a defensive end here. We could see, Kwity Paye. We could see Aziz Ojulari. We've already got one guy off the board in Jalen Phillips, but I think we're starting to see those guys come off the board because the defensive edge group was always stronger in the late rounds. They weren't really there early on, so I'm not surprised that it took a while for one to come off the board. But New York's going to be an interesting pick. We're seeing the first team with a major trade down. Obviously, we saw the Cowboys bump down a few spots and still get the guy they were probably targeting. But Giants, they got a lot from Chicago, so they've already made a good move. But they're now up for most likely going to actually make this pick. I can't imagine they'd be trading up, but My guess would be this is where the receiver run starts. I know I said that last pick, but I think we could see Elijah Moore come off the board because they've got Kenny Golladay. He's a big-bodied, outside type guy, and they've got a few other guys as Sterling Shepard, Darius Slayton, some speed guys. But I think Elijah Moore could really slot in there in the slot, funny enough, and give Daniel Jones a weapon. I mean, the offense could be really good with Daniel Jones throwing to those guys I mentioned, along with Evan Ingram, and Saquon Barkley will be back this year. So obviously they're not in the market for a running back, but we could see that offense really get a boost with Elijah Moore. I mean, the Giants haven't been they drafted Sterling Shepard a handful of years ago, and he's been solid. But I mean, I like Elijah Moore, but let's go and see who the options kind of are. Moore, like I said, he's a bit smaller, 5'9.5", but I mean, 86 catches last year, over almost 1,200 yards, 8 touchdowns, and that's for an Ole Miss team that didn't have the greatest. I mean, they weren't the greatest team, to be honest. So you can't really blame him for that. You've got Rashad Bateman, who is another guy I think could go this high. He's another first round almost lock, I think, who played really well in Minnesota, going for over 1,200 yards and 11 touchdowns in 2019 when they played a full season. Kadarius Toney, I think that this could be, I mean, whoever does end up with him has a real chance to get a huge playmaker. I mean, the dude's got speed. He's an absolute playmaker. Him and Kyle Pitts in Florida were just unfair with just a skill there. Was crazy. 70 catches for almost 1,000 yards and 10 touchdowns. And then Terrace Marshall, another LSU guy, was behind Jamar Chase and Justin Jefferson 2 years ago, but kind of got to stand out this past year with Chase sitting out. And he's a real red zone threat. 23 touchdowns in 2019 and 2020 combined. The catches and the yards weren't necessarily there, but there's a lot of love needed to be spread around in that LSU offense. But that's a dude who can catch touchdowns. So maybe him and Bateman are a little bit too similar to Golladay, and they want to go a different route. But we'll see what they end up doing. But like I said, might not be wide receiver. They could go offensive line, and there's a handful of good guys still on the board. I mean, Christian Darrisaw and Tevin Jenkins, I expected at least one of them to be gone by now. So either one of them could kind of slide in at the tackle spot opposite of Andrew Thomas, and I would not be shocked at that pick. But we've got Roger Goodell coming to the podium now, about to announce New York Giants pick. I'm going to say it's going to be a wide receiver. Elijah Moore specifically, but I wouldn't be surprised if it was somebody else. Let's see. Kadarius Toney, wide receiver. So I was right on part of it. It wasn't the guy that I thought it was going to be, but I still got it right with the wide receiver pick, and I think that's smart. Daniel Jones is a bit of a question mark at this point in his career. I believe that is an understatement, but he's a question mark. So, get him weapons, get him guys who can throw the ball to. And with Kadarius Toney, you don't have to throw the ball that far. You don't even have to throw the ball at all. You can hand it off to him, and he'll make a play with it. The dude's electric. So New York got a great playmaker here, and somebody that complements Kenny Golladay really well because he's got a much different skill set. So I think that's big for New York. I think they should be excited. I don't, especially with the trade back, still getting the fourth receiver off the board. So yeah, you didn't get Devante Smith, but you could talk yourself into question marks with him and be really happy that you traded back, 9 picks, and you still got a really good wide receiver that can make a lot of plays. So New York, good for you. You got maybe not your favorite guy, but you got a guy. And now the Colts are on the board. Obviously traded for Carson Wentz this offseason, so quarterback out of the question after Phillip Rivers, 1 year mercenary stint and then retirement. But wide receiver, like I mentioned earlier, is a position that they could go with because T.Y. Hilton is shaky. He's not the greatest at times. He can struggle. He's got his good games, but they're not always good. So could easily be the pick for them there. With everybody I mentioned last pick, Elijah Moore, Rashad Bateman, and Terrace Marshall. So we could see that. Obviously, offensive line is pretty much set there. They've got an incredible offensive line. I don't see them, going with one of those guys there. Running back also. Jonathan Taylor in the second round last year was a great pick. So on that account, but so defense probably the pick. So we're gonna see somebody probably come off the board on defense. Would be my guess. Probably along that defensive line. We could see corner, but they're pretty decent in the secondary. Xavier Rhodes did pretty good for them last year, I believe. He's back. So I'd probably look defensive line. I think there's a lot of value there. Darius Leonard is a great leader on that defense. But the line in front of him, DeForest Buckner, they obviously acquired last year through trade with their first-round pick, so we can rule out interior. But, Kwity Paye, Azeez Ojulari, you can even throw Jason Owa in there. Somebody to kind of get after the passer from the spot, from the edge. I think we could definitely see one of those guys go. And really, this is an Indianapolis team that is looking to, they've got Carson Wentz. They're looking to make a big splash this year. So I think they're going to go with a player that could really do that. So I would say it's going to be edge. I'd probably go Kwity Paye. I think he's the best guy still left on the board there. So I would be shocked if it wasn't defensive end or wide receiver. I know that's broad, but you got to think it's gonna be one of those two positions, kind of the biggest need, with also the biggest kind of depth in the class at the moment. Defensive end. Defensive end is a position that wasn't strong early on, but we're starting to get kind of into the depth of that position with a lot of guys left that could get drafted. So I think we could see one of them there. The pick is in, so we'll get that in a second, but we're going to see who that's going to be. Like I said, I think I've kind of narrowed it down to two positions. I believe I had them going with, I can't remember exactly. So I'm not sure, but I believe I had them going wide receiver. I think I gave them Elijah Moore is who I thought that the Colts would take, because I think that, getting T.Y. Hilton and Michael Pittman Jr. from last year's second round, getting them kind of a third person to complete the trio and to eventually take over for T.Y. Hilton when he leaves or retires or becomes ineffective because he's old. So that would be, I think that could still happen. But I also think, just to spare myself talking about every wide receiver again, like I did last pick, I think Elijah Moore should be the pick here, will be the pick here, because they really need help there. And when you trade for a guy like Carson Wentz, when you get a new quarterback and you give up what will likely turn into a first-round pick, it's a conditional second right now. When you get a guy like that, you get him weapons and you get him people that he can throw the ball to and can help him out. And they don't have a lot of that, like I mentioned with they didn't really have anybody stand out last year. So unless T.Y. Hilton can regain just exceptional form, I think a rookie would really help them out. We just got done with Russell Wilson's message, so it looks like Roger Goodell is going to be walking to the podium. I sure hope so. And what we're gonna say, and he's gonna announce the pick soon, I would hope. But there, I beat them to the punch talking about that Colts-Eagles trade, where the Colts obviously got Carson Wentz, and they gave up a third-round pick and a conditional second, likely to turn into a first. Ryan, are you back?
I think I'm back.
Okay, I can hear you.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Hopefully I'm back. Goodness gracious. This computer is dying over here.
Yeah.
There's too much draft to handle.
Yeah. We're in the 20s now, home stretch. But, I mean, you missed Kadarius Toney going to the Giants, getting a wide receiver after supposedly missing out on Devante Smith, and now we've got the Colts up, which I think I predicted Elijah Moore last pick, and I've done that quite a bit. I like Elijah Moore here because I think Carson Wentz, new quarterback, get him another weapon and make him happy.
Yeah, getting Carson Wentz another weapon on a team that is it's kind of predicted to make a strong run in the AFC South.
Yeah.
Going against
it's up for grabs.
Jags. Yeah, going against the Jags and the Texans in that division, you got two people that are just not competing anytime soon. And the Titans team that has an established run game for sure, but they had pass rush issues even when they added Jadeveon Clowney. Oh. They lost Corey Davis.
Yeah,
we'll kind of see.
We've got the pick in. It's not
the pick in.
It's not Elijah Moore. It's Kwity Paye, defensive end.
Kwity Paye finally goes. Okay.
Yeah.
DeForest Buckner. Wow.
Yeah. Another pick. I said it's got to be receiver or defensive end. Those are the two kind of spots. I don't believe they thought that Paye would still be on the board here. So I think they got excited that a player of his caliber was still there. I think they were expecting to have some different options to choose from. So I think that's good for them that they are able to address a need. So I'm going to let you go because I talked a lot about the Colts. So give me your take on Paye. I'll be right back.
It's going to make this defense just that much more scary. I mean, them adding Carson Wentz made some people kind of scratch their heads, mainly kind of Eagles fans and maybe even Colts fans, saying goodbye to Phillip Rivers there. But having a player like Kwity Paye join that roster it's just going to make him more scary. I mean, having DeForest Buckner right there alongside with him, this kind of reminds me of, not obviously the same deal pick-wise, but this kind of reminds me of what Denver did back in 2017. You got Von Miller, and then you added Bradley Chubb to take a side there. Mm-hmm. And I think they might have a pretty considerable steal with this pick with Kwity Paye.
Yeah.
I'm excited to see what he does, especially, like I said, in that AFC South division where it's kind of up for grabs, and people are kind of leaning towards the Colts, and I think they should be.
Yeah.
And it's a very solid pick for him overall, though.
Yeah, I mean, he was my top guy still on the board. I thought he'd come off a lot earlier. I thought he'd be the first pass rusher to go. But I had my questions about him. His production in college wasn't the greatest in terms of getting to the quarterback, which is what you want him to do. Only 11 and a half sacks in his career, but he's talented. He clearly has the potential, and he's going to a place where he, I think, will be set up to succeed because he's going to a good team. He's going to a defense that has other weapons on it. Obviously, DeForest Buckner, like you mentioned, Darius Leonard, who is a linebacker that can do it all. He rushes the passer as well. I'm not sure the status on Justin Houston, if he's back or not, but I know that he's been there, so he's in a good spot. He won't have too much pressure, and he'll be most likely playing for a team that's in the playoffs.
Yeah, and now I'm interested to see what the Titans are doing now. They're kind of their AFC South counterpart, kind of the one team that's really competing with them. I mean, it's safe to say the Titans got that run game established. They got Ryan Tannehill. That pass rush could definitely use some help. I don't think Jadeveon Clowney is still on the team anymore.
No,
I could be wrong.
he's in Cleveland.
Oh, that's right. He joined Myles Garrett. Everyone's having some dynamic duos on their defensive lines now. I told you, pass rushing is so crucial now. So I could definitely see the Titans going a pass rushing route. I believe. I don't know how long I was gone, but is Christian Barmore still on this board, or
he is?
He's still on this board?
You just missed the. You missed two. You missed the Washington football team selected Jamin Davis, linebacker from Kentucky, and then Kadarius Toney went to the Giants. So those are the two guys off. So Barmore, he's still there. My guy didn't go top 20 like I wanted, but that's all right.
Barmore is still there. Elijah Moore still there.
Yeah.
You just lost Corey Davis. Just lost Jonnu Smith.
Mm-hmm.
You know, got to get at least another weapon for Tannehill to work with. The moment they stop Derrick Henry on their second down runs. You know, Tannehill can only get you guys so far with what's there, and I think either or Christian Barmore or Elijah Moore would benefit this team, but could be wrong. They could go. They could maybe go corner here. Still have yet to see Caleb Farley get taken. Greg Newsome as well. Mm-hmm. A lot of different ways that they could go here. But yeah, you're kind of seeing the graphic here now of they only kept Anthony Firkser and Firkser. Okay, I almost call him Frisker like the cat food. So that's AJ Brown and Anthony F there because I'm not going to try it again.
It's not that hard.
Firkser.
But
they're showing Elijah Moore clips, so that could be something.
I think I like offensive tackle here because if you remember Tennessee, they drafted Isaiah Wilson, number 29 overall last year, went with an offensive lineman. Don't believe he played. They already moved on from him. He had some DUI issues and some other stuff because they lost Jack Conklin last offseason. Their former All-Pro right tackle, so they wanted to replace him because the most important thing in Tennessee is that run game because Derrick Henry, he can carry that team. 2,000 yards is not out of the question for a guy that good. So I like offensive tackle again because, if at first you don't succeed, try again. They tried it last year. It didn't work. That position is still in need. I think receiver they could get later. There's a lot of depth. I mean, A.J. Brown is the guy they got in the second round, I believe. So I like offensive tackle here. Probably Tevin Jenkins is who I had going here. I think he can be, that mauler on the right on the right tackle because the left tackle's set with Taylor Lewan. But Tevin Jenkins or Christian Darrisaw, either one of them would be an exceptional pick here. Clearly filling
that's right. Darrisaw's still on the board as well.
Yeah, both of those guys. Only 3 offensive linemen off the board. I'm certain we're going to see a few more of those along with a few more wide receivers. And I think either of those positions could be very helpful for the Titans.
Yeah, it's as long as they don't take Najee Harris, right?
Yeah, we're creeping up on that. Only 11 more picks in the first round. Running back won't go here, so they might be sweating about that first round selection there. But we still got obviously the Steelers and a few teams that could use a running back. I'm
keeping my eye on that Steelers 24 pick.
I mean, it's really the Steelers, and then because the Jets traded, I believe
maybe Baltimore.
Jaguars.
No more Mark Ingram there.
They got Dobbins. The Bills, I think, could be a spot.
That would be very interesting.
The Bills could
they only got they drafted Zach Moss in the 5th round, and
pretty late.
And Devin Singletary, I believe, is still there.
Yeah, but I mean, if they like a guy, they could go and get him. But so Tennessee here, Roger Goodell's approached the podium. Going to get that pick in real soon. So what's your official stance here? Are you going to stick with defense? I know there's some good DNs. Christian Barmore, we've talked about all day, is still there.
I'm going Elijah Moore. That's what I'm settling in for.
I'm gonna roll with Tevin Jenkins.
Okay.
But Elijah Moore I would I would be very happy because I thought he was going to go with either of the last 2 picks. So I'm going to stop picking the same guy over and over again, which means it probably will be him. But we're getting the pick right now, and it's Caleb Farley, the corner, finally coming off the board. I know we briefly mentioned it. A very talented kid that was at times kind of rumored in that top 10 range that kind of fell due to some injury concerns. But that's a great pick. I mean, they lost to Dory Jackson, they lost Malcolm Butler, Logan Ryan left 2 years ago, so the corner position is not great in Tennessee, but it got better with Caleb Farley, assuming he's healthy.
Yeah, I mean, going second, you can never have enough corners, right? So going up against that Colts team twice a year, I mean, you're going to have to stop them in the secondary. The Jaguars and Texans, still a little bit of a work in progress. And if the Titans are going to contend,
Watson's good though. So
yeah, we'll see if he gets to play. I think the next issue.
The rest of the Texans aren't good, or if he even stays there. But
yeah. But if they're going to even come close to contending with the Colts in that division, you cannot have you can't have enough corners and DBs. So good pick though. The injury concerns will be the biggest question mark associated with Farley, but
absolutely.
I mean, you can't deny that the guy's got talent. So
yeah, I mean, for sure. And it's hard to tell because he didn't play this last year due to some injury, what he could have done. And I believe he sat out and then ended up getting some surgery. But 2 years he had 6 interceptions and 19 passes defense. So the dude, I mean, he's a playmaker. He gets to the ball. He can, he's not just a cover guy. He could tackle. I believe they showed a highlight of him getting a sack. He's an all-around guy and somebody that I think if it wasn't for the injury concerns would have been off the board way earlier. So this could be one of the better picks, toward the end of this draft.
Towards the end of this draft, I mean, it's going to stand out. I'm interested to see what Minnesota does here with their pick, considering they traded back. How many times now? Or they traded
just the one.
His pick with who?
14 to New York.
Jets.
New York.
Yeah. So again, I think they ought to go defense here. Is what I would imagine, but could be wrong. I can't imagine a receiver or a running back being taken in the spot.
Yeah.
Not much on the offensive side that I can really think of.
Yeah. I mean, offense. I could see offensive line. It's not the pick is in, so Minnesota will be staying in this spot. It's not the strongest area on their team. Offensive line could use a bit of help, and like we mentioned, there's still some guys left on the board. But I mean, edge rusher, they desperately need a guy opposite of Daniil Hunter. They tried with Yannick Ngakoue, that didn't work out. They just haven't been able to find. Daniil Hunter is an excellent pass rusher, and they haven't really been able to find somebody to go next to him. So I think pass rushers pretty good here. I mean, Azeez Ojulari is a guy that I really like. Jason Owa from Penn State might fit, more of a defensive end prototype for them. But I think defensive end would be a good selection here for them.
Mike Zimmer's a defensive coach.
Yeah.
You got to play Aaron Rodgers for who knows how much longer. And you got to play
now.
You got to play Justin Fields now, which who knows when he's going to get the starting nod over Andy Dalton. So,
and if not Andy Dalton, this is a scary dude.
He's a smart guy. We'll see if he was looking promising in his kind of cover up role for Dallas. I mean, right. he just hasn't had a ton of luck, I think is the thing. I mean, it's playing in Cincinnati all your life and not ever winning a playoff game despite having multiple double-digit seasons. Never had a ton of luck. But this Vikings team, year in, year out, seems to be so close to a breakout year after the Minnesota Miracle. But so far in the Kirk Cousins era just hasn't been able to piece it together. But like you can't help but look at their defense and just think like, what is, you got Danielle Hunter there. You got the linebacker Anthony Barr, I believe, still plays for them. Harrison Smith,
Eric Kendricks.
Yep. This roster is very similar to New Orleans, or at least kind of what New Orleans was for a while. There's a ton of pieces on there. What isn't really working? And you're kind of running out of time in terms of the roster question, and maybe you have to get in the coaching question. But I think, if anything, it's going to be to just get maybe that extra pass rusher to be next there to Darnell Hunter, and maybe some O-line help, like you said. Tevin Jenkins could be fun with this pick.
Yeah, I think I'm going to go with Jason Owa from Penn State. I think he projects as more of a traditional 4-3 defensive end, whereas Azeez Ojulari is more of a outside linebacker type. Greg Rousseau, another Miami guy who has really fallen down the board, but that could be a selection there. I think they go defensive end. I mean, I had them selecting Kwity Paye at 14, and he almost got back to them, only a few picks. So that would have been huge for them if he was somebody they were targeting up there. But, I think they're going to stick with the defensive end position because that seems to be the biggest need. Offensive line is possible, but, the value might not necessarily be there. Roger Goodell's up to the podium now, so he's going to make that selection or announce the selection. And we will see what it's going to be. We haven't been hitting on these later ones. It gets a bit harder, but they went Christian Darrisaw, offensive.
There we go. Okay.
So we're getting close. We're narrowing down to one or two positions and getting that. But I think that's a good pick. Obviously, holes on the offensive line, like we mentioned, and he's a guy who can come in, and I'm not sure if they need left tackle or right tackle or what, but he will certainly be one of those tackle spots this year.
You got to pave the way for Dalvin Cook. You got to do whatever you can to hang on to that guy. Dalvin Cook is my absolute beast of a fantasy worker from this past season.
Yeah.
Shout out to Dalvin Cook. Thank you for protecting him, Minnesota. Yeah, maybe I'll draft him one more time.
So he gets a reward for helping you out. He gets a nice guy to block for him.
I mean, just looking at a Vikings offense that has Dalvin Cook, Justin Jefferson, and Adam Thielen. Mm-hmm. I mean, I think that Justin Jefferson pick came from Buffalo, if I'm mistaken.
Yeah, it was
in that trade with Stephon Diggs.
Mm-hmm.
Because if that wasn't the case, if there was some way that they ended up getting Justin Jefferson as well.
No, it was in the Stephon Diggs trade, a rare trade that works out for both sides, to be honest.
I mean, the only real conversation I can see surrounding Minnesota, in terms of question on the roster side of things, it's been brought up before, is Kirk Cousins. Kirk Cousins has the ability to play. How do you want to phrase it? Good enough. It's like he's had highlight moments in his career. He's never won a playoff game.
I've got to cut you off here because the Steelers, they rushed their pick in, didn't take much time, and Goodell's already up to the podium announcing
really?
it. So, this is Najee. They're speeding.
It's got to be Najee.
I like Azeez Ojulari here because the Steelers have a lot of holes that aren't running back. They need offensive line after losing some of those guys. They lost Bud Dupree. So if I was them, I would go with with an edge rusher. I'd get Azeez Ojulari here. And okay, is he not? Did he walk away from the podium? I'm not sure. I thought he was up there. But either way, the Steelers, this is where a lot of people thought the first running back would come off the board. Which Najee Harris would probably be great there. But, I think offensive line and I think defensive end are just as much of needs and are positionally more important than a running back, which I think you can grab. later. And I mean, they've got Benny Snell, they've got Jalen Samuels. They aren't great options, but they can be solid. I mean, we've seen late round guys, perform over and over again. But I like Azeez Ojulari here. This is a pick that I've really, honed in on. But I know you're a big running back in the first round guy.
Yeah, I mean, the only thing I can say against it is the fact of kind of Pittsburgh's offense right now. I mean, they still got Juju, they still got Claypool. Offensive line's obviously a bit of an issue, and Ben Roethlisberger, who knows how much longer the guy's going to be playing for.
He's announcing the pick, so we'll see if you get your wish. You do. It is Najee Harris. So
it is Najee. See,
they went with them.
I got two of my my late round or my notable late round picks correct. Mac Jones and Najee, both my Alabama guys. So I'm happy with that. But this is a fun pick, to be honest with you. This is kind of what I had the Jets kind of following up with Etienne. Did I say it correctly that time?
Etienne, yeah, you got
Etienne.
it right.
Okay, that's gonna be the whole struggle with me pronouncing his name the entire season. But this is just a fun pick for Pittsburgh because I feel like Pittsburgh is still kind of stuck in their high school glory days. They're wearing the Letterman jackets and wearing the class rings around. They still got a great run defense. They had a tremendous run defense this last year.
Yeah.
And so that may not be the biggest concern with them. They obviously had a huge red hot start at the beginning of the year that people were like, oh, well, they weren't playing that hard to people and this or that. And Steelers fans didn't want to listen. They didn't want to listen. The moment they started playing some prominent teams, that's when it started kind of coming up behind them. And, I mean, when you lose to Cleveland in the first round of the playoffs when it was supposed to at least be a game and Cleveland hadn't won a playoff game in 2 decades, something's going on. But I think Pittsburgh is not entirely ready to let go of the glory days. They're still bringing Big Ben back. They didn't want to trade up to try to get any quarterback or anything like that. This is that's kind of what the pick says to me.
Yeah, but, they try to compete now still. And I mean, don't draft Najee Harris here as anti-Najee Harris because I am absolutely not anti-Najee Harris. I think he is absolutely incredible, and I think this is going to be a great pick. But could you have gotten somebody later that could be 75% as good? Maybe. But I mean, Najee Harris scored 26 touchdowns last year, almost 1,500 yards. I mean, he is the best runner in the class. He's the best pass catcher in the class. I mean, the dude can literally do it all and will do it all for a Pittsburgh team that has a lot of offensive weapons surrounding a Ben Roethlisberger that's hanging on, and he's trying to, play one more year. I don't know. They're a team that should be able to compete and get to a Super Bowl, but they've got a lot of holes to fill this year, which is why I would have liked to see a different selection here. But I mean, he's a guy who I thought was a top 10 talent, top 20 talent in this class. So, I don't think that's a bad pick by any means.
In terms of the quarterback situation, I would assume they're trying to aim for maybe a free agency situation down the road. Mm-hmm. It doesn't seem like there's a ton of quarterbacks that are hitting the radar right now. As much as I would have loved to throw Jaden DeLore in that question, but we'll see about that. But and then Keaton Slovis coming up that off the top of my head at least. I can't think of a ton of standout.
Yeah, it's an interesting class next year. So Pittsburgh definitely trying to win now. But Jacksonville's on the clock now, about 4 minutes left.
It's been a long time, Jacksonville. It's been a long time.
Obviously, already drafted their quarterback of the future with Trevor Lawrence. So, I mean, what do they do now? Do they get him a weapon? Do they get him protection? Do they get him a running back? Because James Robinson was an undrafted free agent who did really well last year. But do they go with, a first-round talent like Travis Etienne, who was really good last year? Or do they go defense, which has holes virtually all over the place? They really could take anybody here other than another quarterback, and I would not be surprised or disappointed.
This team was the only team that gave up 35, 34 points on average per game the entire season. I mean, after starting 1-0, because thanks to the mustache man, going 0-15 for the rest of the season and allowing 34, 35 points a game.
Mm-hmm.
That's not necessarily the offense's fault, entirely. There's holes everywhere on this defense. So
Yeah.
I think it's time to start fresh with the secondary again. I like Greg Newsome in this spot, of course. Christian Barrymore. It's got to be a defender at this spot. If it's not a defender, honestly, receiver isn't terrible.
Mm-hmm.
DJ Chark and D.D. Westbrook are kind of there doing their thing. But I could have sworn, correct me if I'm wrong, is there not a Clemson receiver still on the board?
I mean, there's Amari Rogers, but he is projected much more as a second or a third round guy. He's not really one of these top guys left. But I agree with your secondary kind of with your take there. I like Trayvon Moyrig here, the safety out of TCU. I think that obviously Jacksonville needs talent all over the place. They drafted a pass rusher last year in Kayvon Chason, so maybe they're not worried as much about that. But I mean, the secondary, Trayvon Moyrig could slot in right away and play there. I mean, they traded away Ronnie Harrison, who was more of a strong safety, but they haven't really been able to hold on to any of their good defensive players. So I mean, they could take corner, they could take safety, they could take my boy Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah at linebacker that I was projecting 10 picks ago. But they could take, I mean, anybody on defense. So I'm going to stick with Moyrig here, but I would not be surprised to see really anybody else.
Yeah, it's got to be on the defensive side. I mean, if it's not perhaps a receiver, don't take a running back here. I think that's just honestly disrespectful on James Robinson's part. I mean, the guy came in undrafted and was, I mean, kind of in contention for Offensive Rookie of the Year behind Justin Herbert, and he probably was on the same par as Joe Burrow when he was making his run. So, like, having an undrafted running back like that make an impact like that post Leonard Fournette, who just won a Super Bowl, I mean, I would think you would do anything you can to make your running back happy. Because after losing Fournette, like you gotta have a good running back there, and one that's wanting to play for your team.
Yeah, but we saw Philip Lindsay as an undrafted running back in Denver, and they went out and signed.
Austin Eckler was a free agent, or undrafted running back as well.
But
around the time that they got Melvin Gordon, I think
didn't stop Broncos from getting Melvin Gordon. So if they're really high on ETN, I mean, but yeah, I think defense. Clearly, you got Trevor Lawrence on the offense, but I mean, if they go Tevin Jenkins,
let's make Trevor Lawrence happy. Screw the team for right now. Let's make him happy.
Yeah, I mean, if they
let's
go
keep him as happy as we can.
If they go Tevin Jenkins, I wouldn't hate it because protect your new franchise quarterback. But I still think defense will end up being the pick here. I'm going to stick with my guns with Trayvon Moyrig as Roger Goodell plops down in his nice leather chair and announces the pick from a microphone. He's got his jar of M&Ms right off to the side.
He's not even at the podium anymore. Oh my gosh!
No.
He's back in his basement.
They went with Travis Etienne.
They did.
The Clemson. I mean, can you argue with that Clemson backfield? We've seen what it's done before.
They're really going for the Clemson quarterback and the Clemson running back. That's interesting.
It worked for Clemson, but I mean, Travis Etienne, he averaged 7.2 yards per carry in his career. I mean, the dude is absolutely insane, running, like just breaking off huge plays. I mean, almost 5,000 rushing yards. I mean, he's insanely talented. James Robinson is great, but he's not Travis Etienne. This is a guy who can come in right away and take that role and, do just as good, if not better. I mean, he's an incredibly powerful runner. He can catch, he can break big plays. I'm a bit surprised, certainly, but I mean, hey, you get your guy. He could be really good. And like I said, that Clemson backfield reunited after, they're going to get, 7 years of playing together at the least.
Yeah.
So that's got to be exciting for them.
It's got to be exciting for Trevor. What a way to kind of get your guy to be comfortable by having the guy who shared the backfield with you through all your snaps. So wonder whose decision this was ultimately, if this was Urban Meyer here, if this was Trevor Lawrence, picking a guy that he wanted to play with and kind of inspire the front office or whatever. But next up with Cleveland, though, much like the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, I'm pretty much at a loss. I mean, considering every kind of bit of their roster, they got the quarterback, running back, receivers, O-line, nothing to say on the offensive side of the ball for this team. Even with Myles Garrett, they pick up Jadeveon Clowney. Yeah. The line's set. The secondary is set. I don't know too much about the linebackers, but I guess I put my money on them being at least all right. It's if anything, maybe it's got to be something defense. Maybe we'll get a first round kicker. Who knows? I don't know. I can't think of too much here.
Sure as hell hope not. But Cleveland, I like secondary here. I think they kind of fix their holes, not completely, but fix their holes at defensive end with Jadeveon Clowney. But and then you've got Denzel Ward. They took a few years ago, but he could use some help. So I think Greg Newsome could come off the board here. I think that could certainly be the pick. Trayvon Moehrig, maybe. Like I mentioned last pick, I don't know what their secondary needs are at safety, but I mean, I would bet it's secondary. I think that is the position they need the most help at, unless they just want to go full just juggernaut and go with a wide receiver and add that to Odell and to Jarvis Landry. That would be kind of exciting for them, but not great for the defense. So the pick is
if they took Terrace Marshall Jr. with this pick, you gotta kind of just roll your eyes at it. I mean, they have three LSU
receivers. Yeah, hey, why not? Let's load up that offense. But yeah, I think secondary. I think Greg Newsome. It probably comes off the board in the first round, and I don't. This seems to be the best position for him to do so as Roger Goodell starts to make his slow walk to the podium.
Yeah, he had to get up from his chair.
No, he's back out of the chair because they've been having the fan in the chair, but since the Jaguars were making their second pick, they didn't.
Oh, you were about to say since the Jaguars don't have any fans.
No, they have fans now. They have fans now with Trevor Lawrence there. They're new. All the Clemson. They're going to
take their sweet time with this pick.
Yeah. Oh yeah, in Cleveland. But all the Clemson fans are Jaguars fans now. That's not a bad idea either. Just monopolize the Clemson football fan market.
Stay in southeastern United States. Why not?
But
they already got Pullman, Washington. Well, they may not have him anymore. But
not anymore. Think they're doing some more charity talk, so we won't bash them this time. So it might be a bit before. I've got it on mute, so I'm not doing it on.
I do too.
Just didn't know what they were talking about, but so Cleveland's going to make their pick soon before they're milking it for all it's worth, being the draft being in Cleveland.
Now, I could
Instead
have
of
sworn this year's draft, like last year's draft, was supposed to be in Vegas.
yeah.
And I thought they said during the draft, "Oh, Vegas, like we're gonna have it there
Well, I
next
think
year."
they're waiting till it could be like fully crazy, because they were gonna have like it on the fountain and have a boat and everything. So I think they're waiting for everything to be normal, and all that. But the Browns are making their pick, and they went with Greg Newsome. I got one. I nailed it.
There you go.
Finally nailed it. It's been a while since I predicted one correctly. But Greg
I
Newsome.
got Najee Harris to the Steelers.
You
I'm
did.
proud of that one.
You did. But yeah, Greg Newsome, it feels good to call one, straight up like that. But yeah, I mean, it's a great pick. Like I said, Denzel Ward has been really good since they selected him 2 years ago. But he could use some help, and he gets that with Greg Newsome.
Cleveland just gets that much more stacked. I mean, they're going to make yet another run at the playoffs this next year. Other than, I mean, they play in such a tough division. So
yeah, but they take a run at that division.
Right, that's what I think is so impressive about them. The fact that they can make a run at that division with the Ravens and the Steelers to compete against. I mean, the Steelers kind of taking a dip, but the Ravens still just speaking with the Ravens on the clock now, it's just so it's impressive that how Cleveland has completely revitalized their entire franchise in like less than 5 years. And this pick will keep the foot on the gas pedal, I think, and keep the AFC North uncomfortable. If anything, you want to make Lamar Jackson, it's uncomfortable.
Yeah, for sure. But yeah, I mean, they're getting the guy they probably, I assume, had been targeting for a while, thinking that he would be around there. So I really like that pick. And yeah, Baltimore on the clock now. They've got 2 picks. They've got 27 here and 31 in a bit. I think one of them absolutely will be a wide receiver, and I think the other one's got to be a pass rusher, because they lost Matt Judon, they lost Yannick Ngakoue, who they had for half a season. I think pass rush is really vital. So I don't know what order they're necessarily going to be going in, but I think it's got to be one.
Yeah, I would imagine one of them is going to be on the defensive side of the ball. Maybe both of them be on the defensive side of the ball. I'm sure they're wanting to put kind of the keys in Lamar Jackson's hands. But I think the league is quickly sort of transitioned to, this guy's going to run. Let's defend the run a little bit. I mean, his passing is getting better, and getting him a target, I think, is going to be immensely useful. So we'll see what they kind of go with here, but I'd be surprised if they went anything other than a receiver and maybe that edge rusher spot.
Yeah, so I don't know which one's going first. My guess would be edge rusher, just because receiver is a bit deeper. There's still, 3 guys that I think are worthy of being taken, and one of them, if not more of them, will still be on the clock when they pick again. So I'd go edge here. I'd go, I like Azeez Ojulari. Like I said before, he'd fit in really nice as an outside linebacker pass rusher as opposed to a defensive end. But, I could see, Jason O. I could see Greg Rousseau, like I said. There's a handful of guys, but, I would say Azeez Ojulari would be my guess. If you've got your prediction, Ryan.
It's a fair guess. I mean, we'll see if they want to help Lamar or if they want to help Lamar. We'll see if you want to comment on.
Yeah. So the Ravens pick is in, but probably won't be hearing from that in a bit. But if we're just looking at some of the guys still available, some of the guys that we've been talking about for quite a while, because they're people that I thought would be picked a lot earlier, but obviously Christian Barmore is a guy that I really liked and a guy that I think is really talented. But the NFL isn't necessarily agreeing with me at this point. And then you've got Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah, Azeez Ojulari, Tevin Jenkins, Jason Owa, Elijah Moore, Trayvon Moyer, Rashad Bateman. I mean, there's a lot of talent still there that is up for grabs. I mean, and then you're getting into, the later on. I really like Liam Eichenberg, Dylan Radin, Samuel Cosme, some really good offensive linemen, Landon Dickerson, that could sneak in. Terrace Marshall, Rondale Moore, or some wide receivers that could pop in to the end of the first round. So, I'm interested in seeing, who goes from, we thought they could be taken 10 picks ago, and ends up being in the first round and gets to be a first round draft pick, because there's 6 picks left, but there's a lot more than 6 players left that I like and that I think have the potential to make a pick this late worth it. So there's a lot of guys still there that the Ravens certainly are going to take a receiver at some point. I would think that it's going to be at 31 would be my guess, but if they want to ensure they get their guy now, they do it now. We've got Roger Goodell coming up to the podium, about to make the 6th to last pick, or the 27th pick in this draft. We're getting down to the last 5 picks after this one, so we're winding to a close, and let's see who it's going to be. Are they going to help Lamar? Are they going to help the defense? It's got to be one of those two, and they go Rashad Bateman. So they do get a wide receiver for Lamar Jackson. They go wide receiver at 27, which is good because that's something they desperately needed. Ryan, if you're back and if you heard Rashad Bateman going to Baltimore, wondering, we talked about getting either a wide receiver or a defensive end, so they do get one of those positions.
It's helping out Lamar, and considering he's going to be the next quarterback, he's going to be the quarterback for them for the next 10, 15 years, right? Like, he's going to be the guy for them for a while, and getting him help outside of Mark Andrews and outside of
Marquise Brown,
yeah. Hollywood Brown. Making sure that he is comfortable out there and not having to, result to running 100, 150 yards a game. I think it's a solid pick. I'm not too informed on Rashad Bateman. I've seen him. Yeah. I saw him on a couple of mocks, but it's going to be beneficial for Lamar regardless. We'll see how much more beneficial it'll get with their pick here in a little bit. But overall, I think they made, one of the right decisions they could have made.
No, he's a really talented wide receiver, obviously played at Minnesota, which 2 years ago really, kind of got put onto the map. Him and Tyler Johnson, both there, who's now the Super Bowl champion with the Bucs after being a late round pick. But I like Bateman a lot here because, it had to have been either him or Terrace Marshall because they have kind of the fit. Obviously you've got Marquise Brown, who is, a speed guy. He's a, smaller receiver. He's got that locked up. You've got Mark Andrews, who, is a tight end, and he's, a great asset. But Rashad Bateman kind of fills that role of a big-bodied receiver that he can go up and get it. He can score touchdowns in the red zone, on a fade route. He can go over the middle, and make a big contested catch. So I like that position. Obviously, Elijah Moore is a great player, but he's kind of not as fast, but similar to Marquise Brown. So I like the fact that they went with a big body wide receiver. So I think they definitely nailed this pick.
In terms of the Saints upcoming here now,
Mm-hmm.
there's a couple of routes they could take with this. Obviously, Drew Brees retired this past off season. It seems like they have, kind of their go-to right now with Jameis Winston and perhaps Taysom Hill.
Mm-hmm.
Alvin Kamara, obviously solid. They did lose out on Emmanuel Sanders.
Yeah.
It's just Michael Thomas out there now, and I don't think that Jared Cook anymore either.
No, they don't have Jared Cook.
So I would not be mad with a receiver here.
Yeah.
Once again, Elijah Moore on there. Would not be opposed to receiver. On that defensive side, I mean, you got Demario Davis, Cam Jordan still, Marshawn Lattimore. That's another thing that kind of sticks out to me is getting a partner in crime, if you will, with Marshawn Lattimore.
Mm-hmm.
And Malcolm Jenkins still trying to make sure that secondary is formidable. This is very similar to the Vikings in terms of they got a solid roster all around, except this instance, I think they lost a good chunk of people.
Yeah,
obviously losing their all-time quarterback. So either you get a receiver or you get a corner in my book, one side of the ball or the other.
Yeah, corner or receiver. It's definitely a possibility. They certainly could use somebody across from Michael Thomas, but I think with the fact that they've got Michael Thomas, they might be more leaning toward the defense where they could get somebody that they don't have somebody as good at that same position. And you mentioned Demario Davis, who is really good, but I actually thought they would go Zaven Collins, who is obviously long gone. But Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah is the top linebacker left. There's also Nick Bolton from Missouri. So I thought linebacker might be a position that they would want to target. Defensive end, they've got Cam Jordan, they've got Marcus Davenport, who they traded up to draft a few years ago.
Trey
Hendrickson. They lost Trey Hendrickson, but Marcus Davenport is a guy who's shown a lot of potential, which might have made them, willing to lose Trey Hendrickson for that price. So I think they could go linebacker because, Demario Davis is 32. He's getting up there. And so to have somebody to kind of play with him, maybe take a little bit of pressure off of him, and then to be the kind of take over for him when he does retire or move on. So, I like JOK here, my guy who, I said however many picks ago, the dude's got to come off the board in the first round. He was one of my favorite players in the draft, and the fact that he's still there now, I think the dude has an immense potential. And so if he is the pick, I'm going to really like that, and I think the Saints will absolutely get a steal. But let me know. Give me your prediction for player. You got to give me one.
If anything, geez, I'm running out of players here. Sorry, I'm getting a little teary-eyed watching this Drew Brees kind of tribute they have here. That's going to be the biggest thing for them going forward. But if I had to go with anybody, mainly because I can't pronounce the guy's name, but we'll go with JOK.
JOK.
I'll join the train with you there. But
okay.
A receiver
be prepared to be wrong, because I haven't nailed on. I haven't been good at this.
That's right. Yeah, it was Rashaan Slater. Then it was
I got him
Christian Barrymore.
Wait,
did Christian Barrymore get picked yet?
No, he's still on the board.
He's still
my guy. I'm bad at picking guys this year. I'm bad at picking guys.
Or Green Bay's got to take him.
Green Bay's going receiver after this. They have to.
That's true.
Aaron Rodgers will
Aaron Rodgers is
slaughter the
he's just going to buy the team and then just. I wouldn't be heartbroken.
Very interesting here. They went Peyton Turner, defensive end from Houston, who is kind of a surprising pick here. Not a guy that I saw with a lot of traction at this point. There's some defensive ends that I like better than him, but so they went pass rush, which I kind of wrote off. So that is surprising.
pass rush is going to be pretty useful for them considering kind of the division they're in. Obviously, the Super Bowl champs, but Carolina gets a new look at quarterback with a new offensive lineman there, right? Or no, they took J.C. Hornet.
Yeah.
With their 8th pick. So, God, that feels so long ago.
Yeah, it does.
And then Falcons pick up Kyle Pitts, so their passing offense has just got a lot more scarier. So, going pass rush here obviously is not the worst thing in the world. Same thing with kind of like the receiver spot where Taysom Hill is going to line up anywhere he wants. So I think they just are really going to abuse kind of his abilities there. But it's all about just trying to make sure that roster can remain as close to what it was in the past couple of years. The quarterback spot's going to be kind of heartbreaking for a little while, but we'll see if Jameis Winston can put something together and Taysom Hill will do some trick plays and stuff. But defensive end is solid. But I'm more shocked the Packers pick is already in.
Oh, I'm not shocked because I think they sprinted to pick. I think they just wrote, just give us a wide receiver.
Yeah, they said, give us a receiver.
Just like whatever, just pick one of them. We don't care. I think that has got to be the pick, especially after everything that came out today with Aaron Rodgers being, pissed off. But I don't know exactly which one. Obviously, Elijah Moore has been around. He's a guy I really like. Terrace Marshall. Same thing. Red zone threat, which could come into play. The Packers love to throw the ball in the red zone, which Devante Adams is really good at. On our first episode of NFL Dash, we did some bold predictions. You obviously had one of yours come to fruition with both running backs in the first round. The other two did not pan out. Two of mine have already passed, but if two more receivers go, then I could nail my 7 in the first round, which sounds crazy, which it was very bold by me, but there's 4 picks left. Teams could, I think Baltimore, they already took theirs, but Green Bay should take one here, and then who knows, maybe Tampa Bay gets greedy, but we'll see. I think we've got one more coming off for sure. That'll make it 6. But yeah, I like receiver here. Terrace Marshall probably fits their style a bit more, but Elijah Moore is a nice complement and kind of a different skill set than Devante Adams. But I'd go I would guess Terrace Marshall.
Terrace Marshall or whatchamacallit?
Elijah Moore.
God, we've been talking about
Elijah Moore. We've mentioned him only 50 billion times.
I think I might be lagging here. Oh, jeez.
Those are the two guys.
Hold on.
That seemingly.
Am I caught up yet? Am I still lagging?
Those are the two guys that could seemingly get picked. Obviously, Rondale Moore is a name that has had some borderline first-round buzz. And if somebody wants an electric speedster of a playmaker that is pretty good at making plays with the ball in his hands, then Rondale Moore could certainly be a selection. But I think it's almost guaranteed as Roger Goodell comes up to the podium past the cheering cheesehead sitting in the chair that this has got to be a wide receiver, or else I cannot imagine what
they're gonna start throwing the hats.
I can't imagine if this is anything. I mean, it won't be as bad as a quarterback, but I think they are ready for a mutiny if they don't go wide receiver here.
I'm here.
And they didn't go wide receiver. They went corner. They went Eric Stokes from Georgia, and I will say honestly, not a bad pick because if you remember in the game against the Buccaneers, Kevin King, former UW Husky no less, got absolutely demolished. They just went after him over and over again. They've got Jair Alexander on one side, who's an elite corner but they don't really have anybody on the other side. So if they didn't go wide receiver, then I have no problem with them going corner. I think that fills a big need for sure.
Yeah, I'm surprised there are a ton of smiling Packers fans out there. I mean, it could be worse, sure. But there's like a lot of cheering Packers fans there. I would have thought they would be a little bit more angry. But,
yeah. Well, the ones that are there are happy, but we'll see what Packers Twitter.
They get to go to the draft, yeah.
And I mean, Aaron Rodgers can't be happy right now because on the day that he was angry, they once again don't get him another guy.
With with everything that came out, and they still didn't take a receiver, although they got something that was still in need. They're just treading water with him. But now with Buffalo on the clock, this is unfortunate because I think if Travis Etienne or Najee Harris dropped to them, that would have been perfect for them. Because if there was the one thing that held them back in that AFC Championship game, it was the rush offense.
Yeah.
I mean, Josh Allen can do a ton in their offensive scheme underneath Brian Dabble, who, shockingly enough, was not signed to be a head coach anywhere else. I think he's kind of coming back for vengeance against the Chiefs this next year. But they keep the same offensive coordinator. They keep Josh Allen, Stephon Diggs,
Cole Beasley,
They get Cole Beasley back, and they add Emmanuel Sanders. So the running back spot I thought would have been like they really had a chance. I thought to pick one of the two first round running backs here. They don't have that anymore. So at this point, you go. I think you go pass rush. Once again, I'll throw Christian Barmore out there just to get an interior kind of D lineman there. You still got Stephon. Yeah, you still got Stephon Gilmore. I believe they still got Matt Milano, and the defense is solid all around. However, despite taking hits kind of the past couple of years to build up the offense, but go defense here. The offense is set to. I mean, Josh Allen was I want to say second or third in the MVP votes. So yeah, so you've established the offense. I think it's time to get a few more pieces on defense, make that second run because the passing offense is going to work out. Hopefully they get a running back in these next couple of rounds or something like that. But, Oh, Tremaine Edmonds as well. I forgot about him.
Yeah. They've got the Bills probably, other than the Buccaneers, were the team that I think has the least amount of holes. I mean, there's just not a glaring need on this team. So whatever this pick is really a luxury. I mean, I could see them going wide receiver. They obviously signed Emmanuel Sanders, and Gabriel Davis is doing pretty good for them. But I mean, he's not necessarily the answer. I don't think Emmanuel Sanders is. So if they just want to go screw it, let's make Josh Allen even more powerful. Thanos grabbing another Infinity Stone. Let's give him another wide receiver. I could see that happening. With a Terrace Marshall, I think could be a possibility, but maybe that's my own hope that we drafted here. But in all likelihood, I think defense, probably pass rush, is probably the weakest aspect. Jerry Hughes is all right. And he's
getting close to retirement.
Yeah. So setting them up for the future. But yeah, linebacker Tremaine Edmonds and Matt Milano are great. Corner, I mean, Tre'Davious White is one of the best in the game. And Levi
why did I say Stephon Gilmore before? I meant Tre'Davious White. Sorry about that. Sorry, Bills fans.
I was trying to figure out who you were talking about.
I meant Tre'Davious White. My bad.
I couldn't figure out what name. I thought it was similar. And then Jordan Poyer and Micah Hyde are an elite.
Yeah, Micah Hyde. Totally forgot about him.
Yeah. So I guess I know more Bills than the Bills guy.
I'm doing the Bills fans dirty here.
Yeah, but I could see them going. I think it's got a defensive end. Azeez Ojulari, Jason Owa, who they're showing on the screen right now. But I mean, selfishly, I think I just want to see Josh Allen level up and get another insane target to throw the ball to. I would not have a problem with that. But I mean, the sad thing right now is that, I mean, there's some people that were expecting to hear their name called that are gonna have to invite their family back for tomorrow. Which, I mean, it's happens. There's 40 guys that think they could get their name called on day one, and it's not all going to happen. But 3 picks left. We're getting down to it. We're almost at 4 hours since the broadcast started. Obviously, I don't think the Jaguars did not get on the clock till about 5:15 Pacific time after some Kings of Leon concert. But we'll see who the Bills pick here. He's announcing Rousseau, defensive end. So they did go with the pass rush like we were talking about. I think that is a nice selection. And he's actually at the draft in person, so he almost avoided a bit of embarrassment with having to come back tomorrow.
Do you know what college he's from?
Miami.
So I will throw out there, and the same thing kind of goes for any sort of Green Bay player as well, or even Cleveland and Chicago are up there. Weather plays a factor with these players. I know
it's not as nice in Buffalo as it is in Miami. Really?
No, not even close. So I mean, that's what kind of really worked out with Josh Allen, because playing in Wyoming and having that big arm. I mean, being able to play in the cold is such a huge aspect of being a Bill. And this guy from Miami, I mean, he is the second DN to come out of Miami with Kwity Paye being the first. So
Jalen Phillips being the first.
Oh, sorry about that. Kwity Paye's Michigan. My bad. It's been a long day.
Yeah.
But it's going to be interesting to see how this guy fits in, especially since he may not start day one. I think they may kind of stick with their core guys, and this guy will build himself up a little bit. But a little bit of a project, which I feel like they can kind of take on. Yeah. Maybe they'll get another receiver or so with one of their future picks. But now with Baltimore, now you go defense, right? They just helped out Lamar, so
let's get another
defense.
Let's get another receiver. Why not?
They're getting another receiver, but that or a line, or
something I want to mention about Rousseau, which is so he didn't play last year. He sat out, which is fair. And he really only played. He only had one good year, and that was in 2019. But he had 15 and a half sacks and 19.5 tackles for loss. And after that season, he was, a top 10 player in this class. And, he sat out, so he didn't get a build on that. Some, questions and concerns.
I remember hearing about this.
Yeah.
So this is this guy. Okay.
I mean, so this is the type of talent that could end up being a huge steal. I mean, the last time we saw him play, he averaged over a sack a game. So, I don't know everything that goes into the scouting process and looking at these guys. So I can't say exactly why he slipped, other than, raising some concerns about, most of the time he was winning from the interior. That hasn't really shown his get off on the edge. But I mean, the dude's huge. I mean, he's a guy who can clearly get to the quarterback and, bring him down. So there is no problem with drafting a guy with that level of production when you're the Buffalo Bills, who are one game away from the Super Bowl and returned almost everybody from that team. So this is a really good team that got better.
They got a little bit better. They're planning a little bit for the future. It'll work out for them.
Yeah.
I'm kind of looking forward to these last picks. I haven't eaten it all today. I'm sure these guys have probably been so nervous of where they're going to get picked, or nervous if they have to come back the next day.
Yeah. But only 2 picks left. And let me just run down some of the names still on the board, most of which are players that I have talked about liking. So, don't hire me as a general manager, I guess. But Christian Barmore, obviously, I mean, that could be a guy to Tampa Bay. Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah, one of my favorite guys in the class. Azeez Ojulari, the outside linebacker, edge rusher. Tevin Jenkins, offensive lineman that people thought could go much earlier than this. Jason Owa, obviously the another edge rusher. Elijah Moore, the good receiver from Ole Miss. Trayvon Moyrig, the safety. And then, Terrace Marshall, Dylan Radins, Liam Eichenberg, Rondale Moore. So there's a lot of, quarterback, 2 more picks. Somebody trades up for a quarterback. Kyle Trask, Kellen Mond, Davis Mills. There's a lot of good players still left. And one of them is going to go to Jacksonville at the start of the second round. That's going to be a really good player that they get. This is a deep draft. But what do you think Baltimore does?
Baltimore is, I suspect, is probably going to stick with the defensive side. Mm-hmm. I would assume here. You can get so far with Lamar kind of leading the way, but it's either got to be this one or the next one that Christian Barmore goes away. And if Tampa Bay is the one that gets
guy, I got 2 of my guys.
If Tampa Bay ends up getting a hold of either of them, good
luck.
What are we supposed to do?
I don't know.
That pass rush gets. It's just that defense gets just so much better. Mm-hmm. That's going to be so unfair for the whole team. Or for the whole league. The Falcons just got a once-in-a-generation player in Kyle Pitts, but then when they see who Tampa Bay got with their first rounder, they're like, well, we're happy with our pick, but we'll struggle for a little bit more. But who knows? Maybe they could shock us. Maybe they'll pick. Maybe they'll just load up at a receiver, like you said. Maybe they'll get I believe they still have Fournette and I don't think Le'Veon Bell's still Ronald Jones, yeah. Or Le'Veon Bell's on the Chiefs. Sorry. Or he was on the Chiefs. Didn't LaShawn McCoy retire when he was on the Bucs?
I don't know. Yeah. Who knows with these guys? But yeah, Baltimore, I think it's got to go edge rusher here, obviously, like I mentioned earlier, replacing 2 really productive guys on that team in Matthew Judon and Yannick Ngakoue, who they got halfway through the season. Azeez Ojulari and Jason Owa are both still there, both guys many thought would go in the first round. I've called both their names a few times. Something is leaning me towards Jason Owa here. I just think that seems like the type of pick that they could make. I know I actually believe that I had him in my mock going to Tampa Bay, just shoring up that pass rusher position. But I think he could go off the board here. It's got to be pass rusher, I think. And so that's the guy I'm going with. But, there's been some shocking pass rushers off the board already. So I wouldn't be surprised if it's a Carlos Basham or a Joe Tryon or, somebody that's a little bit further down a lot of boards.
Yeah, we're reaching the point in the draft where I'm starting to run out of names. So they better get one of 5 players that I still know of, and I got to go from there. But
if both of my guys don't get drafted, I'm gonna be real sad. If Christian Barmore and JOK don't go in the first round, I'm gonna feel disappointed.
Yep. The 2 guys that I predicted just got drafted within 3 picks, right? With Etienne and Najee Harris.
Harris.
That I got.
There was back-to-back picks. They were back-to-back picks.
Oh, they were. That's right.
24,
because
25.
Because I kept thinking that Etienne went to the Jets because that's where I predicted him to go.
Yeah.
But
Roger Goodell's at the podium now. Baltimore Ravens making their selection.
Oh, they're highlighting the trade they made a couple days ago. I thought the Chiefs and the Ravens just swapped picks real quick. I'm like, really? Or sorry, I'm thinking that they're the Buccaneers. God, it's been a long day.
Jason Owa, I nailed it.
He was
Let's
looking
go.
pretty depressed in his living room, so I'm happy.
Yeah,
for
he
him.
was. He was. Well, this means that one of my guys isn't going to make it. But yeah, I mean, Jason Noah, I call it what that's 2 of the last, what I get, 26 and 31. The Buccaneers put their pick in right away. Thank you. I think they're
They
going to try
did?
to wrap this up. I don't even think they show the clock yet. Who knows when the broadcast will announce it, but it does say the pick is in. My guy Barmore could be going here. A lot of mocks had him going 32. I thought he would go a lot higher. But that would be, I mean, to get him to kind of get in there with Ndamukong Suh, who they brought back on a 1-year deal, and then take over going forward, I think that could be really big for them. But I mean, I hope it's one of my guys. Barmore was like I was like, this is my dude. But he still could be. But one of 2 of my favorite players will not be going in the first round, so that's sad. But let's hope it's not 0 for 2. So I'm going Barmore here. If anything, just to
Do you want me to take JOK for you? We'll see who wins.
I mean, I don't think. I mean, he's a linebacker. They've got Levante David and Devin White. So, I don't think that would be the selection, but
it can
who
be
knows?
linebacker. And whoever that it was the safety for Tampa Bay that threw up the deuces to Tyreek. I forgot his name.
Antoine Winfield Jr.
Yes. Yeah, that you got to go one of these rushers just because just because I'll be happy if I get it over you. So I'll say JOK and you say Barmore.
Barmore. We'll see. I mean, there's definitely Azeez Ojulari is a guy I threw out quite a bit.
They can just shock us and go Tevin Jenkins.
Yeah. Carlos Basham is a defensive end that could sneak his way into the first round. Oh, Goodell's making the pick. So we're nearing the end. Final pick. So let's see who it's going to be. Please be Christian Barmore. Please. That's my guy. It is Joe Tryon, edge rusher. So both of my guys.
It was an edge rusher, I guess.
It was. So, not surprising that they went with that. I think when you have a lot of luxury, it's a good position to load up on. But, yeah, I mean, this is a guy who won't have to start right away. He'll be able to kind of just come in situationally, get his reps,
get his ring.
Learn from – yeah, exactly. And WSU gets a shout-out by watching him gobble up a running back in the backfield. So that's always nice.
Which one was it? Was it Dion?
No, it was a few years
ago.
They
didn't even play UW this last year. Sorry.
And then they showed him sacking Anthony Gordon.
Oh, they did. Fun.
Yeah, because he is from University of Washington, unfortunately. But
so what's his face has to really go out with the win. But oh my gosh, what's the UW coach's name?
Peterson, or Jimmy.
That's the old one. Jimmy Lake. You see his tweet today where his quote today where he's like, get to see my guys go in the first round. But in terms of a closing thought of like what team I think won this, I'm sticking with it. And I think this is the one team that really sticks out to me, and that's Chicago. I'm being honest.
Got a quarterback.
I think Chicago. They traded 4 picks away just for moving up 9 spots or so. So I mean, they moved up and they moved up the right way, and they didn't move up to get Trubisky where everybody hates them. And they did the right thing. This is I did not even suspect that they were going to be in contention for Justin Fields. I give them a ton of credit. I'm super excited for it. That's my biggest winner.
Yeah. Honestly, my brain, I can't even remember all the picks that were made. I think, I think Chicago obviously did great. But that's going to do it for us. Thanks for, tuning in and hearing what we have to say. Stay tuned for more episodes of NFL Dash. I'm sure we will get back to you on some thoughts on the entire draft. So stay tuned for that. I'm sure we'll have an episode by the start of around the start of next week. But thank you for tuning in, and enjoy the rest of the draft. I know I will.